Hey, this is Kevin Kelly, and you are listening to the Stardom Cast.
This is Jesse from Club Venus from Stardom, and you're watching Stardom Cast.
Guys, and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I am joined, as ever, by the Chuck Norris of the Stardom Cast. It's only Matt Turner. Matt Turner. How the devil are you, good sir?
That is a heck of a moniker to live up to, my man, but I'm sure everybody knows why or will know why that you called me that, and I appreciate that. My brother, I am fantastic. Friends and family of the Stardom Cast, I am doing great. It is a beautiful day outside. It's a beautiful day to be alive, but who are we kidding? Every day is a great day to be on this best of all possible worlds. Now, Rob Goodwin, before we get into all these shows, before we get into the two new nicknames that I have for our beloved Saya Iida, before we review our preview and have our predictions for All-Star Grand Queendom this weekend, which I'm so excited for, before we shamelessly plug our live podcast coming up on Saturday, Rob Goodwin, today is a very special day because not only as we record this is Mina Shirakawa on AEW Dynamite today, but I also want to, it's a very special day because it is the birthday of one Andy Header, my tag team partner, my good friend. Yes, my very, very good friend, my tag team partner, one Andy Header. As of this recording, as we're recording this on Wednesday, the 24th. And Andy has been somebody that has been on our podcast as far as the Patreon goes. So if you're a part of our Patreon, first of all, thank you. But you probably heard Andy Header quite a bit on some of these last few episodes. So Andy, I know you're listening. What we're going to do, myself and Rob, we're going to dedicate this episode to you. So what that means, there'll probably be more offbeat shenanigans and ham-fisted segues than normal, my man. But no, brother, I know I texted you this morning. Nothing but love to you, my man. You are, like I said, as always, you're one of my favorite people to talk to. So I hope you enjoy your birthday, and I hope you enjoy the shenanigans from this episode. But no, man, I'm great. I'm terrific. Again, I'm really looking forward to previewing this show and your predictions for All-Star Grand Queendom. But how is everything in your neck of the woods? I know it's a little bit busy by you, my friend, but it sounds like everything is going well.
Yeah, so I didn't quite appreciate. So last time I moved house, it was a fairly, emphasis on fairly, quick sort of process. And we're moving house this time, and obviously I've spoken about it before on the podcast. But this was back in October, we sort of started the process. And we are currently the 24th of April, and we are just getting on track to actually move. So it's looking like next week I'll be moving, which, as everyone knows who's moved house or has been part of someone else moving house, it is an incredibly stressful experience. Hopefully me and Kirsty will make it through Friday, which is when we move. But yeah, unfortunately, it does mean that I'll be missing from programming. Definitely for one episode, maybe for a couple, depending on the internet, because again, like wrestling, the internet is certainly subject to change. But yes, exciting times at the moment. We're obviously amidst an absolute sea of cardboard boxes. But apart from that, it's all good. Obviously, happy birthday, Andy Header. You've really bigged up this episode, Matt, now. We've really got to make sure that this is an absolute top notch. We've basically got to make this the equivalent of Andy Header's cosplay, because Andy Header's cosplay might be the pinnacle of cosplay.
Yeah, he's done, let's see, Scarlet, I'm just going through the ones off the top of my head. Scarlet Witch, Alexa Bliss, Gem, He-Man, some random character from Street Fighter 5 or 6, after I fell off a little bit after Street Fighter 4. Yeah, She-Hulk. Yeah, he's done some really, really good ones. And I made mention on this podcast before that when we go to New York Comic Con every October is that we go for 4 days. 2 days, he's just Andy Hatter. And then 2 days he cosplayed. He usually does one guy and one girl. Oh, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was great. And usually when he does the girl one, I have to be his handler. I got to carry his bag and carry his comb and do this, that, and the other thing. So that's what friends do, my man. That's what tag partners do. You know, I mean, you got a little sample of that with us in Philadelphia, my friend. That's what you do. You had to handle drunk Uncle Paul. So that's just, kind of an unspoken rule. But now Andy's the best, when he comes with these cosplays. I think he literally starts planning the cosplays out like 7-8 months in advance. But yeah, I guess I did set this show up for I'm not gonna say failure because we do a lot of good things. And again, wait till you hear the 2 new nicknames that we have for the beloved Saya Iida that I've made for the beloved Saya Iida on this show. I think that alone, plus the preview of the big show of the year, All-Star Grand Queendom, I think will be A-okay. And to be honest, Andy Heather is a really, really easy guy to please. So I'm sure he'll be excited with this episode, as will everybody else.
It's what we like to hear. We aim for those easily pleased people. But yes, it's going to be an exciting time today because we've got a hell of a lot to talk about. So on top of 4 different shows to look at where we saw title matches, stuff set up for All-Star Grand Queendom, and all the things in between. We've also got our preview of All-Star Grand Queendom, as Matt alluded to. We've also got a whole heap of news, which we can't wait to get our teeth into, from everything from more Marigold stuff to New Japan and Stardom's relationship to some comments about Rossy Ogawa, courtesy of Kenny Omega, which we'll be getting into as well. There's a whole host to get into, so put yourself your favorite beverage, put your feet up, because this could be a long episode. But before we get into all of that, before we got into any of that, Matt Turner, let's take a brief pit stop at the Stardom Cast Extra, our fantastic Patreon. What is coming up this week?
Well, I did mention at the beginning of this month, because with me and you being away at WrestleMania, that there's going to be a lot of catching up come to the end of the month. And folks, we were getting close to the end of the month, and we have a whole host of episodes that are being recorded, that have been recorded, and that have been released this past weekend. Myself and the birthday boy, Andy Hatter, we released our roundtable discussion of what top 5 wrestlers that have never wrestled in Stardom that we would like to see wrestle in Stardom. So that was a really fun one. The alternate commentary that we released this past week was Mayu Iwatani versus Takumi Iroha, number 2. This was the rematch from earlier in the year, which Rob and I did at the beginning of the month. We kind of figured, hey, let's just keep everything, kind of in order here, and we may as well do the rematch. So the 2-match series from Mayu versus Takumi Iroha from 2020, that does have our alternate commentary, and it is in your Patreon feeds as well. And the next week, we will be doing an alternate commentary. And it's very topical because Mina Shirakawa is quite a bit in the news. Mina Shirakawa challenging Saya Kamatani for the Wonder of Stardom Championship from All-Star Grand Queendom last year, which I can't believe, again, as of this recording, we're just a year past from one of the best wrestling shows that I've ever seen. So that is the alternate commentary that'll be on your Patreon feeds next week as well. Myself and Rob Goodman will be recording later today our non-Stardom match. The not the alternate commentary, but we like to call the basically the watch along with you, as we will be doing Aja Kong versus Meiko Satomura. And what company was that from, buddy?
That was from Gay Japan.
Yes, I've never seen it before. I'm super excited to crack a beer later on today and watch that one with you. And then, because we're not busy enough this weekend, no, I will be interviewing once again our good friend, and always just a hoot just to talk to, one Allison Danger, as this is the one we've been planning for a couple months. Allison's been a little busy on the road doing some great things with professional wrestling, but myself and Allison Danger, we will be recording our What if Prime Minami Toyota was inserted into Stardom? And it's basically any era of Stardom. That's basically what I told Allison. I said, you are the booker, you are the dream maker, whatever you want to do. So that'll be on your Patreon feed sometime early next week. So yeah, that's all that is coming up, and that's all that is on the Patreon feed. So yes, apologies, and I appreciate everyone's patience for the lack of material that was on the Patreon feed at the beginning of this month. Again, myself and Rob were in Philadelphia, and then we came back from Philadelphia a little bit under the weather. But boy, howdy, we got a lot of really cool stuff between now and the end of the month, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of stuff coming your way, and I'm excited. I'm very, very excited to see where we are going over the next couple of months. We've got another couple of really interesting podcasts coming up, let's say. I just want to shout out, whilst we're talking about the Patreon, Mark Canlish and Aaron Zacharias as well. New patrons, and people that have upgraded their membership as well. Thank you to everyone that is a part of the Stardom Cast Extra. If you're not already, that's absolutely fine. But if you want to go and check it out, you can start for as little as $1 a month, where you'll get all of our episodes early and ad-free. And on all the tiers above, you get a whole host of bonus content as well. That's all worth looking at, isn't it, Matt?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we believe in, not giving bang for your buck, but more bang for your buck. We want to make sure that everybody, whatever tier you subscribe to, that it's well worth the money, as myself and Robin, now Andy Hatter with a little bit of Alice in Danger sprinkled in there as well. We want to make sure we give you the best content. And as always, if you have suggestions, you guys know how to get a hold of us. We're easy to get a hold of.
Absolutely. So let's start with a little bit of news, because it's been a very busy week in terms of news. And we're going to start with yesterday, so the 23rd of April, as we record, when New Japan put out a press release to say that New Japan will fully acquire Bushiroad Fight. And I'll just read the transcript for you. It's a meeting of New Japan Pro Wrestling's board of directors on April 22nd. It was determined that New Japan will fully acquire all stakes in Bushiroad Fight Co. Limited, henceforth Bushiroad Fight, due to rename itself Stardom Co. Limited from June 28th, from parent company Bushiroad Inc. With this acquisition, Bushiroad Fight will become a fully owned subsidiary of New Japan Pro Wrestling, again, effective from June 28th. The goal of the acquisition apparently is to improve operating efficiency and to reduce redundancies within Bushiroad's sports unit. A couple of words from Taro Okada, who of course is Bushiroad Fight president and CEO. Since Stardom joined the Bushiroad Group in 2019, our cooperation with New Japan Pro Wrestling has seen Stardom matches in the Tokyo Dome, the establishment of the IWGP and New Japan Strong Women's Championships, and our first co-promoted event in November 2022. Now more than 4 years into this relationship, and And with changes being undertaken in the management and operating structure of the company, there was a desire for a stronger connection between our offices, which is being put into place with this announcement. I hope we can find new ways to show the world just how impressive Japanese pro wrestling can be, and as athletes in both Stardom and New Japan rings continue to push new boundaries, we look forward to your continued support. So, basically, Stardom have become a new subsidiary of New Japan. From what I gather, it means that you are going to have more aligning of schedules so that New Japan shows don't clash with Stardom shows and vice versa. We saw a little bit of that with the Tokyo Dome show, where Stardom ran their Tokyo Dome City Hall show before the Wrestle Kingdom show, so that people could see both. I imagine we are going to see more of that, because we've seen Stardom pay-per-views go head-to-head with the likes of Sakura Genesis before. I think one of the shows has gone head-to-head with Dominion before, and you're looking to target a lot of the same demographic. So something like this, just in terms of scheduling, is a positive moving forward. I think if you're looking at New Japan style production when it comes to Stardom, then that can only be a huge plus. We have seen an uptick in the production values of Stardom, and obviously the beginning of live streaming on Stardom World, which we've seen over the last couple of weeks. If this is where we are going in terms of Stardom, in terms of this partnership, in terms of Stardom becoming a subsidiary of New Japan, then I only see this as a positive. Obviously, we don't know for sure what this is going to entail. I assume we will find out a little bit more come June 28th. But at the moment, Matt, this looks like a positive step forward when it comes to what was Bushiroad Fight and is soon to be Stardom Co-Limited.
Yeah, it really seems like that they're going to be on the same schedule. I mean, maybe they'll keep that, doing Tokyo Dome City Hall right before the Tokyo Dome, or right before Wrestle Kingdom, because both shows drew very well. Maybe they'll do that with Dominion as well. They're looking for, obviously Stardom runs. There's a couple different places in Osaka. Maybe that's something that they'll do in the summer. So that's really good. Maybe we'll see more Stardom talent on these New Japan shows. Again, we saw Azumi on that Windy City Riot show. We saw Mayu versus Mina at one of the New Beginning shows. So it really just seems like they're going to have schedules. They're going to be working together to help each other out, which is fine. And Rob, I'm an easy man to please. This all sounds really good. Maybe I'm being a little bit greedy, but we know there are people that work for Stardom and New Japan that listen to this show. Give us what me and Rob want, folks. Give us Shingo versus Hazuki, because I think that's really where ultimately this goes. All joking aside, I mean, I would love to see that match. All joking aside, yeah, it just really seems like that they're both trying to grow in a positive direction and grow together, which I'm all for, my friend. I'm all for.
You could have given me 13 guesses, my friend, and that was not where I thought you were going to end up. I thought you were going to say about Stardom ending up on the New Japan World app, which I've seen some people sort of hope to see, because obviously, like I've already mentioned, the production on the New Japan World app, taking into account a couple of the niggly teething issues that I know the app has had, having Stardom on that service in the same way, we talked about it just a couple of weeks ago with Wrestle Universe, the more bang for your buck that you can get, especially with a service like New Japan World. If you get New Japan and Stardom for one subscription, I think that would be a real plus for us as fans. And I think that's only going to help Stardom as well. Yes, you potentially lose revenue with subscriptions to Stardom World. However, you are going to gain more fans who have already got New Japan World. And you're like, oh, I've already got this subscription. I'll check out this Stardom match that they wouldn't have already seen because they don't have that subscription. So you can sort of target newer fans that way. What this means for Historic Crossover to Electric Boogaloo, which we know is in the pipeline because it was announced at the end of last year at the joint press conference. I don't know when that's going to be, but it looks like we are striving for more joint enterprise when it comes to New Japan and Stardom. Hopefully that means that we will see more Stardom participation on bigger New Japan shows. I'm a simple man. I would just like to see the IWGP Women's Championship on big New Japan shows like it was initially advertised to us. So we have seen it, yes, on one Wrestle Kingdom, which Matt absolutely loved. Absolutely loved the 3.5 minutes it was given or whatever. But we've seen, obviously, Mayu defend it on the New Beginning show. We've seen Starlight Kid be on both the Fantastica Mania and the Taiwan cards. We've seen Azumi and Mina on the Windy City Riot shows. So we are seeing a lot more Stardom participation. I'd like to see it now on bigger shows in front of a bigger audience, especially when you've got the IWGP Women's Championship on someone as good in ring as Mayu Iwatani is. Even if, by whatever happens on Saturday morning, whether it is Mayu who comes out on top or whether it's Sari who comes out on top, you've still got a huge name as the champion. And I feel like, a Dominion, which is obviously, I believe it's Wrestled on Taku, but that card's already been announced. So once Dominion hits, if you've got a big IWGP Women's Championship match, you could really start to build around that. And we've seen, we saw with the New Beginning show that Mayu and Mina was perhaps, match of the night. So having more Stardom participation on New Japan cards is only a plus for New Japan, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, again, it's a win-win situation. Both these companies, they want to see each other succeed. And with New Japan kind of they're nowhere near as what they were a handful of years ago. They're kind of in a rebuilding state, and that's fine, obviously, with the dojo system that they have in Tokyo and over here in the States in California. I'm sure that they'll figure it out, and Stardom seems to kind of have the hot hand here. So But New Japan, obviously, I mean, they've had a huge name since the 70s with Inoki and Karl Gotch being on that very first main event. So I think it's something where both Stardom and New Japan are going to be able to help each other. But while we're talking about this, actually just came into my head, buddy. I kind of just want to throw a question at you. We've seen Stardom participation on these New Japan shows. What would you say to seeing a New Japan match on a Stardom show? Like, for an example, we have All-Star Grand Queendom this weekend. What if they put on an IWGP Championship match? What if they put on, I know Moxley's the champion, just bear with me. What if they did a rematch from the Tokyo Dome with Naito versus Sonata, maybe to bump ticket sales? Would that be something that you would want to see, maybe, one match, maybe 1 or 2 shows a year, having a big New Japan Championship match on a Stardom show?
It's an interesting thought. It wouldn't necessarily appeal to me, but it's something that we've seen before. We've seen people have the odd match in Stardom. We've seen Ultimo Dragon. We've seen Masato Tanaka. We've seen 3 iterations of Black Tiger, El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr., Dr. Wagner Jr. himself. We've seen a lot of male talent on Stardom shows. We saw it at the Ryogoku show in 2013. They've steered away from that more recently. Whether they go that route in order to boost ticket sales to their bigger show, I don't know. I personally don't think they need to do that, because, despite the split, despite, Marigold's impending debut, Stardom is still hot. We're looking at house show sales, and more often than not at the moment, Stardom are selling out, or, at least it's reported that they're selling out. I don't feel like they need a Naito or a Sonata plonked, in the middle of a card to move tickets. I might be wrong. I might be in the minority with that. It could be something that they look at doing. The only reason that I want it to be the other way around is that New Japan is a bigger entity, and I feel like Stardom benefits more from being on a New Japan card than New Japan gets anything from being on a Stardom card. But also, we've got a women's championship that is both Stardom and New Japan promoted. It feels like it needs to be on those New Japan cards, whereas there's no real championship equivalent to then be on a Stardom show. Does that make sense?
Rob Goodwin, that was an amazing answer, buddy. That made, I mean, not only is he good looking, folks, not only is he a great author, not only is he a nice guy, he's very smart as well. Yeah, that was a really, really good answer. That was just something that kind of just came in my head. I figured, hey, while we're on the podcast, we may as well throw it back. Again, it is Andy Hedder's birthday, so we got to make sure we're top notch today, buddy. So that was a top notch answer from a top notch gentleman like yourself, sir.
I had no one but Andy Hedder in my head while I was coming up with that answer. So, this is a little bit of a knottier subject. So we're moving on from the New Japan and Stardom partnership, though we will look at it in a little bit more detail as it comes closer. And obviously that, by the way, will come into effect just 2 days before AEW's Forbidden Door. So if it wasn't already obvious from Mina Shirakawa and Azumi's appearances on Dynamite and Collision that we are going to get some Stardom participation on Forbidden Door, I feel like this partnership pretty much cements that we're going to see it. However, something that I feel like we need to talk about is something that leaked, or something that came out, I believe it was late last week, which is something that Kenny Omega mentioned on his Twitch stream in regards to Rossy Ogawa. And this transcript is courtesy of Fightful. And someone asked Kenny, I believe, a question about Marigold. And I'm just going to read you verbatim what he says. So again, this is a quote from Fightful. From someone who lived it, breathed, who was very close friends in the industry. I don't necessarily mean the wrestling industry. I mean the industry, the government-issued press, the information they know. I'm just going to leave it at that. I would say don't be so quick to listen to praise for that individual, because someday, I'm not sure when it will be, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday people will know the truth. What they do with that truth, I don't know. Will they share it? Maybe. A lot of the higher-ups in Japan, they know exactly what he said. He then went on later on to say, my comments on Rossy are whatever. There is nothing to say. I just think, eventually, I don't care about Rossy being an E-drone. There's no big deal. He's done. That's not even the tip. Just you friggin' wait. If you're still interested in wrestling and you're listening to the stories and reading stuff when it finally comes out, I will say one thing. There are a lot of people who refuse to work for him for the very same reason. Some of those people are in WWE, some are in AEW. They have a very good reason. It's not just, I decided to wake up and not like this guy. If you want to know along what lines they tread amongst, the dude just flat out said, we're looking for girls ages 13 to 21 that don't have a boyfriend and aren't married. We already know he puts underage girls in very revealing swimsuit calendar and books. I wish that's all he did. Let's put it that way. I don't know. I don't want to say anything. I'm not going on record to say anything. I don't want lawyers barking at my door. That's why I don't want to say anything. I don't have any sort of video evidence. I just have the good word of people who are very close. I'm outside of it. If those people feel like commenting or saying something, whatever, for now, I'll say that people going to Marigold, good luck. I hope you have a great time. I hope it works out for you. For me, I would be very hesitant. I would be very hesitant. That's all. And he then concluded saying, my only comment is I'm with Asuka. That's it. We are bros, always have been. She has her reasons, and they are probably the same ones as mine. So there's a significant amount to sort of pick at that. The first thing that I want to talk about, Matt, is the bit here. So the quote reads, the dude just flat out said we're looking for girls ages 13 to 21 that don't have a boyfriend and aren't married. Now, I know that this bit, when it was announced, I believe it's Hazuki that says it in the press conference in regards to the Marigold Dojo. And basically, there's a couple of things here. First of all, it was 13 to 30. I don't think that makes a difference, but I believe it was 13 to 30. I also don't think having a boyfriend was mentioned. I don't feel like that is an issue. Now, I know that the not married bit caused a lot of contention on social media. However, the way I looked at it, and I did reach out to Marigold for sort of information as to what their thought process was, and it did marry up with what I thought was going to be the case. The training itself is incredibly arduous, and is something that takes a lot of time, a lot of focus. What I think is meant by the not married sort of portion of that is simply because they don't want distractions for the trainees. So, you know, they live in the dojo from what I understand, and please feel free to correct me in the comments or whatever, but I believe they live in the dojo, and, you know, having a husband there, having kids there can be quite distracting whilst you're trying to learn this incredibly difficult art. I imagine the not married sort of line was added for that reason. Basically, they want someone who hasn't got commitments, hasn't got strings attached, can focus solely on the wrestling. Before we unpick everything else, what was your sort of thought about that, Matt?
I completely see your point and agree with it. That is, and again, I could be wrong. I'm not gonna lie. I saw those comments, and I don't feel really 100% comfortable talking about everything that was said, because there's two sides to every story. And obviously, we heard Kenny Omega, and Kenny Omega obviously is very big in the Joshi community and very positive, and is very trying to push everything that was going on. I mean, early on in AEW, brought the Tokyo Joshi Pro wrestlers in. I'm sure he's going to be nothing but super helpful to the Stardom wrestlers coming in. And I've heard nothing but great things about Kenny Omega, the person and the professional. At the same time, we did reach out to Marigold, and I got CC'd on a lot of those emails, and a lot of things did make sense. But coming from my own experiences, and I'm not comparing what I did in the Ring of Honor dojo 20 some years ago to what's going on in the Marigold dojo or the Stardom dojo or the Sendai Girls dojo, but I know that when Punk first, got that dojo, he was very adamant. He wanted to run it like a Japanese style dojo. And what you just said before, where it's like they don't want them to have boyfriends or husbands, is because you want to have 100% focus. Very much like gymnasts, especially, U.S. gymnastics is huge over here over the last, since the 80s, where it's like, you really can have a boy. You need to focus on this craft. You want to be the best. You want to focus on this craft 100%. So what you just said, I completely agree with and back you up on that, partner. And again, my dojo, and again, I'm not 100% comparing my dojo experience in Philadelphia to what they're doing over in Japan. But a lot of those people that I graduated the Ring of Honor dojo with had to move. I was lucky. I only lived 2 hours away from Philadelphia. So I had to commit. Shane Hagedorn, who you met in Philadelphia, he's from Michigan. He had to move to Philadelphia. My buddy Jeff, he had to move over from Boston. So it's literally, if this is what you want to do, and you're going to be committing to what is going to wind up being a major promotion like Marigold, or what is a major promotion like Stardom, they want your 100% commitment. And I think that's what was being said. And I think that maybe it just kind of might have gotten blurred in lost in translation.
Yeah, I think you're possibly right. There is a couple more things, and Matt, obviously, if you're not comfortable talking about it, I am absolutely fine with that. I'll just give my thoughts. If you want to interject, then please feel free. In terms of the underage things, and this is in regards to the bikiniing photo books that Stardom have produced in the past, and the calendars that they've produced as well. And I think in specifics, they're talking about Azumi, Starlight Kid, and Hanan, I believe, is also mentioned. Something that was pointed out by, obviously, our contact Marigold, is that if they were underage, they were covered up. There was nothing sexual about the way that they were positioned. They weren't wearing revealing clothes. They were covered up. Apparently, there's one issue of bikiniing that had Starlight Kid, Azumi, and Hanan on the cover with the rest of the roster. But the photos inside, again, I haven't seen this. I don't know. But in terms of, what they are wearing, it is covered up. I believe, again, that's just what I've been told. And I think in terms of the, young, what's the word I'm looking for? Young recruits into the dojo is not a new thing, and it certainly didn't start with Rossy. There has always been young people bought into dojos. I mean, Aja Kong, Jaguar Yokota, Manami Toyota, they were all in wrestling from a young age. 14, 15, 16, they were all wrestling from a very, very young age. This young sort of threshold is not new to Joshi. It's been raised in Stardom now because apparently the younger wrestlers just quit, so they raise the age restriction. Also, something worth noting is that anything in terms of what they ask the girls to do, if they are under 18, they did have parental consent, and that's something that has been said. Obviously, from what we've had from sources close to Rossy, anyway. Let's put it that way. Basically, that anything like that, they have parental consent. I think it's dangerous to answer a question with this level of vagueness. Because if you listen to what I said from Kenny's stream, and obviously if Kenny doesn't feel like he can say what he needs to say, that's by the by. But to put something like this, especially in today's society, to put something like this into the social sphere is very dangerous and can be very damaging as well. Obviously, we don't know what, if anything, has gone on, and if nothing has gone on, this is really quite damaging. And again, Matt, you summed it up perfectly. There's two sides to every story. Whether Rossy comes out with some sort of rebuttal, I do doubt, because everything we've heard about Rossy just basically says that it's like water's off a duck's back to him, and he just sort of keeps moving forward. But, one thing that, and this is something that I will quote from the email that we received, Fuka Kakimoto, who has just left Actress Girls to Join Rossy and Marigold, has 2 kids under 5. If there was even a sniff of anything wrong with Rossy, do you think that she would leave and put those 2 children in danger? No.
No way. No way. Yep, I agree with you. No way.
So, again, we don't know what has gone on. We're certainly not here to say it's absolutely wrong. And we're certainly not here to dismiss anything. But we felt with it being something that was being talked about, I felt like it was something that needed to be talked about. I do think it's been blown up out of nothing. I do think that people latched on to certain parts of this and changed it to fit their own agenda. The stuff about Asuka, for example, where it says, I stand with Asuka. This is in relation to a manifesto that Asuka put out before she signed with the WWE, where basically she talked about the Joshi scene and basically just slammed it and said how she would do it differently. And this was rumored to be about Rossy, and it isn't. It's sort of aimed at the Joshi old guard, for example, Nanae Takahashi. And she's Asuka's come out and actually said that Stardom was created to defeat her, which, again, I think that is that's Nanae rather than Rossy. So I don't know what else has gone on, if anything, with Asuka and Rossy, but there we are. Basically, we have, some vague things from Kenny's stream. We also have a rebuttal of sorts from people that know Rossy. I feel like this is possibly something that's going to fizzle out. Obviously, if anything comes of this, we'll talk a little bit more about it. But the 2 big things that I wanted to talk about were the 13 to 30-year-old recruits, which I think we've had a reasonable enough answer to be perfectly honest. I don't see there being any issue with that. And obviously, I know the unmarried bit of that, rubbed quite a few people up the wrong way. However, again, I feel like we've had a relatively decent explanation for that, because the first thing that went through my mind, as I said before, was exactly what we've had in the email back to us. That is the reason it's a hard life training in that dojo, which is why so many people quit. We want people who are 100% focused. And that, like I said, is what I thought when I first heard it. I know that obviously in the West, we don't understand the photo books and things like that. And I'll be honest, I'm not a fan. And I think you've said before, Matt, that you're not a fan either. But that's, it's different in Japan. The marketing is different in Japan. It's not just wrestlers that do this. Pop groups do this sort of thing. Entertainment industries in Japan have been doing things like this. It's not marketed for the West. It's not marketed for us to go, oh, that's a really good idea. Irrelevant of whether we think it is. Obviously, as I've said, I haven't seen the particular issue of bikining that is mentioned, but even so, I would argue that this has been blown up out of proportion. But again, if that proves not to be the case, then we'll talk about that. However, what I will say is there is a hell of a lot of people who have stood up for Rossy. A hell of a lot of people. So I think that speaks volumes as well, that a lot of people are willing to risk their reputation and risk their career to say, to be friends with Rossy if there was anything wrong. But there we are. I think that needed talking about. Matt, is there anything you want to add to that before we move on?
I just hope we all get along, and I just really hope that there really isn't any wrongdoing. That's most importantly. But no, my man, I'm glad you touched upon that. And again, apologies for me being as quiet as I was, because I really that's probably the first time on this podcast or any podcast that I kind of felt uncomfortable about a certain subject with me being the overbearing, I have a teenage, well, she's 19 now, but I've always been the overprotective father. So sometimes I put myself in that situation of what would I do? So, that's that, I guess. Let's move on to the next thing, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, there are a lot of people who have spoken now about how good a guy Rossy is. One of those people is Julia, not for that reason, but in regards to how Marigold came about. So Mira Wrestling, who has done a lot of good stuff recently in translations, has translated an article from Shupro in terms of Julia. And I thought this was really interesting, Matt. So this is what Julia had to say. Ever since he was in Stardom, this is what Rossy were talking about now, Ogawa-san has always said that a rival promotion was needed. He laughed and said that since it wasn't coming easily, he had no choice but to create one himself. But after many twists and turns, Ogawa-san actually created a new promotion. This is the bit that really intrigued me, and it wasn't from me either, but the people around him encouraged him and said, Ogawa-san, let's do it. Well, none of the people who started the fire came to Marigold. Still, Ogawa-san took action for their sake and created a promotion that could rival Stardom. Is there such an interesting old man? We have no choice but to respond to that, right? So this sort of tallies with what we were told, that there were others that were sort of talking about this, and that it wasn't Rossy's idea to create Marigold in the first place. It was something that was brought about by a couple of members of the backstage or the roster or whatever. And then they didn't, not all of them anyway, actually joined Rossy in the first place. Thought that was a really interesting quote, Matt.
Yeah, we were told from our former contact in Stardom now in Marigold, that there was 3 or 4 wrestlers, and there were 3 or 4 former big time, or not former, main eventers in Stardom. And it looked like Julia was the only one that kind of took it seriously. And considering the fact that there's a possibility in the next 4 or 5 months that she'll be in WWE full time, again, we don't know what's going on there. There's certainly a relationship. But that was something very interesting where Rossy, it was mentioned. I mean, I don't think it's any big secret now that it was probably by the summer of last year that he was kind of just burnt out and just fed up, that anytime he had an idea or something that he wanted to do, it kept getting vetoed without any really good explanation, or like, okay, I don't understand why we're doing this. If you want to change it, that's fine, but how does this benefit my roster, or this wrestler, or long-term business? And it was just pretty much like, well, I'm the boss, and I said so, kind of like one of those things. So he was kind of burnt out, and it really seems like you can just tell just in the press conference in these 2 weeks that we've been seeing Marigold all over social media and YouTube or whatever, that he really seems like that fire is lit back under them. But you got to give Stardom credit, from those 3 or 4 wrestlers that came to Ross and said, hey, let's start a new promotion, where the fact that Stardom knew about this and they pretty much sat down the other wrestlers. Again, I'm not going to say who it is because I'm not a stooge, and that's not what we're about. But Stardom pretty much went to these other main event members of the roster and said, well, if you're unhappy, let's try to fix it. We need you here. We want you part of here. And currently what's been going on in Stardom the last 2 or 3 months, they're definitely fixing a lot of the situations. So, again, very, very interesting. And again, the competition between Marigold and Stardom is only going to push these companies to do better. Again, not only in the ring, but creative, production quality, all the stuff like that.
Yeah, agreed. And again, it's something that we've said since Marigold was sort of first even a little bit announced, where it was announced that Rossy was forming his own promotion. You can't blame the wrestlers for this. If they're unhappy, whether it be pay-wise, whether it be conditions-wise, whether it be communication-wise, if those issues are then immediately resolved, you can't blame the wrestlers for them wanting to stay. And I think that's really important, and that's why we've said we're going to support both promotions. We're going to support wrestlers from Stardom, we're going to support the wrestlers from Marigold. Because ultimately, the big winners, as Matt's said countless times, are us as wrestling fans. But, the fact that Ogawa was willing to go out on a limb and create this new promotion for his wrestlers does speak testament to how much he cares for his roster. And that's something we've had sort of reiterated to us from people close to Rossy for countless times, that he cares more for the girls and he cares more for the roster than he cares about himself. So this sort of really does double down on that. And I'm glad Julia has come out and sort of not necessarily about the people that haven't come, but the fact that it wasn't Rossy's idea, but Rossy wanted to do it to help the members of his roster. That, I think, is really important to know. This really does sort of speak to the relationship that Rossy has with his roster. But yeah, we've had names, but we're not going to announce them on the podcast. We're not a clout podcast by any stretch of the imagination, which hopefully after
Human Cadillac Dorian DeVille. What was that?
I've heard that he's on the debut show at Korakuen.
He's both of the X's, actually.
Yeah, Festus is on the other side. Julia and Festus versus Sari and the Human Cadillac. I mean, just printing money.
Cork and Hall. I think I have to move that to the Tokyo Dome, brother.
Oh, has to be. But yes, so let's move on a little bit. Basically, just so I was saying, hopefully after 176 episodes, you realise that we're not a clout-seeking podcast. But in terms of Marigold, obviously we spoke about last week that they had sold out 1,400 tickets for Korakuen Hall in just over 30 minutes, I believe. Well, the fan event / luncheon, according to the Marigold Joshi Twitter page, which is on May 5th, which is a week on Sunday as we record, that has also sold out. That's going to be in Shibuya, Tokyo. The full card for the May 20th debut show will be revealed at that event. So that's very, very, very exciting. In other Marigold news, this Thursday, so today, if you're a Patreon listener listening on release day, or yesterday, if you are on our free feed, at noon, tickets will go on sale for the first 4 dates following Marigold's opening show. The first tour is going to be called Grand Opening Wars 2024. You've got 2 shows at Shinkiba on May 26th, an afternoon and an evening show. You've then got, that's going to be in Shinkiba First Ring. June 1st is going to be from the Osaka 176 box. That's going to be at 1 p.m. And then June 2nd in Axe City, Hamamatsu. So you'll be able to get your tickets if you are in Japan from TicketPay and TicketPaya as well. But yes, I imagine if the debut show is anything to go by, I imagine that tickets will sell quickly, especially for those Shinkiba shows, because I think depending on how they set it up, I think Stardom's highest ever attendance in Shinkiba is 466. But I think if you can, roughly nowadays, you're looking at 290, 300, 310 people in Shinkiba. So I have little doubt that they'll sell out at least one of those shows, Matt.
Yeah, now that I know they're making mention of the card and whatnot, are they going to make mention or make an announcement of what type of hat my Sakurai is going to wear? Because that's what we want to know, Rob. That's what we need to know.
Well, as we know, obviously, as her Stardom run drew to a close, the hat got smaller. Maybe as the Marigold, like a flower, it will bloom as the tour goes on. And it'll just get bigger and more yellow as the tour goes on, as yellow as Rossi's suit. I'm hoping she has a different hat for the luncheon than she does for the show. So she's got like a proper ladies' luncheon hat. And then she's got her wrestling hat. I hope she's got a hat for every occasion, to be perfectly honest. And if she doesn't, she needs to. That needs to be her gimmick. Something that isn't going to be a gimmick for anyone any longer is the Phoenix Splash for Saya Kamatani, who did an interview with Tokyo Sports to say that she will no longer be using the Phoenix Splash. And we'd sort of put 2 and 2 together in the fact that she isn't using it, and B, because of what happened with Mina and everything that came after that. But according to our great friend Scotty Edwards, who, by the way, has done a fantastic interview with Utami Hayashishita on Fightful, go and check it out if you haven't already. Really, really, really revealing interview. Really, really good stuff. Scott is the GOAT. But he has actually sort of translated a bit of the, or sort of summarized, should I say, the article, and has said that it's also due to a shoulder injury that she suffered in practicing the move ahead of the match with Mina Shirakawa at last year's All-Star Grand Queendom. Saya Kamatani, a lot of her moveset, especially in the early goings of her push towards the main event, was a lot of high-risk, high-reward moves. And I think with the Phoenix Splash, as visually beautiful as it is, we saw that it can go spectacularly wrong, which is why it's called high risk, high reward. But even without the injury that she sustained before All-Star Grand Queendom, you could see how much getting that move wrong at in Hiroshima in November really knocked her confidence with it. And I think if you aren't fully confident with a move or you aren't really wanting to do it, I think the worst thing that you can do is continue to use that move when you aren't comfortable doing it. And I think Saya's done the exact right thing. I don't know about you, but it's not something that I'm crying out for as though it's a missing piece of Saya Kamatani's offense. She had a fantastic match with Micah in February for the red belt, didn't use the Phoenix Splash, and it was a fantastic match. You know, I've seen her do it. It's very impressive. However, if she doesn't use it again, I'm not going to be screaming at my TV that this match would have been 5 stars if it wasn't, you know, but we needed a Phoenix Splash, Matt.
No, Saya Kamatani is fantastic without it. Obviously, she does have the Fireburn Splash, the 450, if she does want to go to the top rope. But obviously, the Star Crusher is something very impressive. Her strikes have gotten a lot better over the last 2 or 3 years, again, especially in that phenomenal Wonder of Stardom championship run. Her selling as a sympathetic babyface is really good. She's got really great fire. And then she also has the Phoenix Shine and the Phoenix Strike as well as 2 new moves into her arsenal. So obviously she doesn't need it. When she was able to hit it 100%, which she did more often than not, maybe 85, 90%, she hit it absolutely picture perfect. It was something to behold. I'm a ginormous Saya Kamatani fan, obviously, as you know, Rob. Good on her for retiring a move that's she's not going to get hurt with, as she wants to, lengthen her wrestling career up. But I'm not so sure we're never going to see this move again. I'm willing to bet a few bucks that when she finally wins the World of Stardom Championship, I bet you she's going to use this move. It's pro wrestling. You never retire, and you never really retire a maneuver. I would not be shocked if whether it's a Micah, a Momo, a Tam, or whatever match she's going. I mean, I think as long as she stays healthy and she wants to stay in wrestling, which it looks like she wants to stay in wrestling quite a long time, which is kudos to us wrestling fans. I think it's a matter of time before she wins that World of Stardom Championship. And I made mention on this podcast, many, many episodes, that she is the next ace of this next chapter in Stardom, especially without Rossy and with the new brass of Bushiroad running it. But I would not be shocked that when she finally becomes World of Stardom Championship, she goes in the back catalog and hits this one. But no, the fact that she's not going to be doing this or doing this as often, despite, it's good again. And it's just going to show you how great of a wrestler that she is. If you just watch YouTube videos of Saya Kamatani or just GIFs, the Phoenix Splash is her most flashiest move, but she's so much more than just a high-flying wrestler.
Let's move on then, and let's move on to some more high-flying wrestlers in Natsupoi, Starlight Kid, and Azumi, because they will be in a tag match on May 6th's All Together show at Budokan, where Starlight Kid and Natsupoi will be teaming against O2 Line, Azumi, and Miyu Amasaki. There has been a lot of this card already announced. I believe it's from Budokan Hall, and we will see wrestlers from New Japan, from All Japan, from Noah, and indeed from Stardom and others as well. This is a great match to put on there because we know that Starlight Kid, we know that Natsupoi, and we know that Azumi can deliver on a big stage, Matt, but this is another in a long list of shows that saw Ruaka turn up on Fantastica Mania, that saw Hanako turn up at Wrestling World in Taiwan. This is a chance to highlight Miyu Amasaki and really see her shine in front of a big audience, isn't it?
Rob, I was just looking at the announced card for this All Together show, and I believe it's in the Nippon Budokan Hall, right? The house that I call Masala built.
It
I
is
believe
indeed.
that's the venue. Okay, so this will be, you little more Stardom participation in a legendary venue. Stardom obviously has only run one show in that building from back in 2021 that had the hair versus hair match with Tam versus Julia. But I'm looking at that card and I'm trying to at least announce matches, and I'm kind of trying to put my Stardom bias aside. But I'm looking at it. To me, this looks like it's going to be the best match on the show. Again, you have O2 line, you have Miyu and Azumi. Azumi's fantastic. There's a reason why they're putting her on TV on AEW. There's a reason why more than likely that she's going to be at Forbidden Door. There's a reason why her and Toni Storm drew 500,000 viewers to their match on Collision. Keep in mind, Robin, I know me and you were texting about this. 500,000 viewers on a Saturday night that you had UFC 300, you had the NHL playoffs and the NBA playoffs as well. So that's a heck of a number. So Azumi is somebody that obviously is phenomenal. She's fantastic. When she teams, Miyu's great. She gets so much better with each and every outing, and she's so much better when she's teaming with Azumi. And then on the other side, we have two of the best high-speed wrestlers that Stardom has ever seen, and one Starlight Kid and Natsupoi. And we know the chemistry that Azumi and Starlight Kid have when they're across the ring from each other. And now you're going to throw Natsupoi in there, who we absolutely adore. And again, you're going to have Miyu Amasaki in there as well, who you know is going to hit it out of the park. Again, big venue, big show, a lot of eyes on this show because we have participation again from All Japan, New Japan, Noah, all these other wrestling companies. And the fact that there's a very good possibility, if it's given the time, this is going to be the best match on this show in a legendary venue. That's just more and more positive things for the Stardom product, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely. More exposure has got to be good exposure, especially when you've got the chance to highlight someone that wouldn't ordinarily get these opportunities. That's why I'm so excited to see Miyu Amasaki on this card, because with Stardom at the moment only having one match on the card, and I presume only having one match on the card in the end, especially with it being in Nippon Budokan, the temptation might be to throw a Mayu in there, a Tam in there, a Mina in there, and a Micah in there. A Saya Kamatani, your big names. However, you are putting together an exciting match and still highlighting a future talent in Miyu Amasaki. So I think Stardom have done very well in this. And like I mentioned before, it's something that I've enjoyed about Stardom participation on these cards. We aren't just throwing on, main event talent. We are giving opportunities to talent that wouldn't necessarily ordinarily get that chance. So I'm sure that'll be a great match. We've seen some great work from O2 Line. We'll see more great work from O2 Line before that show. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it very much so. Something else I'm looking forward to, Matt, have you seen how I've managed to weave all of these together? I'm really quite proud of myself.
You're on a roll, buddy. I don't know what you ate or what you drank, but I'm loving this. And the fact that me and you were doing 2 podcasts after this, I'm super excited for it, buddy. I'm ready to rock and roll, buddy. You're crushing it today. Oh, you crush it every day.
Oh, thanks, man. I can't promise that I'll have this level of optimism come podcast number 3, but we'll see. But something else I am looking forward to is the return of New Blood. Again, thanks to great friend Scotty Wrestling on Twitter. Per Stardom's calendar on their website, New Blood is set to return on June 21st with New Blood 13, and this is going to take place at Tokyo New Pier Hall. Are we excited, Matt, to see the return of the New Blood series, especially if it's going to be streamed for free on YouTube?
Absolutely. I love it when they put these shows on YouTube. And again, it's basically with the commercials and the ads and everything that you get from YouTube, especially Stardom. I think they have something like 1.3 or 1.4 million subscribers to their YouTube channel. You're going to get ad revenue just on this alone. And then how many people watch it? I mean, if you go back and look at those past streams, you have within the first 24 hours, 30, 40,000 people that watch this live as it streams, or they stream it, within the first 24 hours. So you might have non-Stardom fans that are watching this that are kind of, hey, I heard about the product, and that'll go either hit the subscribe button or they'll go over to Stardom World and subscribe for a little over $6. So I think it would be smart if they do put this on a free YouTube streaming like they did in the past. But no, it's exciting to see the New Blood brand back. And that probably, hopefully, in the main event, we do see a New Blood Tag Team Championship match because Wingori, now that Aphrodite is no longer a team because of the obvious split. Yeah, I mean, if they're going to be streaming this free on YouTube and you're going to be getting a New Blood, it's a New Blood brand, I'm assuming the New Blood Tag Team Championship would be on the line. So you'd get Wingori now that Aphrodite is no longer a thing because of with Utami leaving for Marigold Wrestling, a.k.a. Rossy Vice Wrestling. Again, they messed up on not calling it that, but that's neither here nor there. I think Wingori and or Crazy Star, in my opinion, is the best tag team in all of wrestling. So the fact that you're going to get a great tag team championship match with Hanan and Saya Iida defending those tag belts, and then if you put on a handful of good matches as well, I think it's basically just a free commercial for Stardom World.
Agreed. Something else. We've mentioned the 6th of May in regards to All Together, which we'll have a little bit more information on close to the time. But something else that's happening on the 6th of May is that Mayu Iwatani will be fulfilling a dream of hers on the 6th of May because she's going to be throwing the ceremonial first pitch at the Yokohama DNA Baystars game, who I believe are a Japanese baseball team in their version of Major League Baseball. So that is very, very exciting. If you follow Mayu on Instagram, you will see her training because I know that she was panicked at one point that she wouldn't reach the bat. Is it batter? I don't know baseball.
It's gonna be the plate because there won't be a batter there. When you throw out the first pitch, there's basically no batter there. It's just the catcher and the home plate. And there has been some terrible celebrity first pitches for baseball games over the last 20 years that if you just YouTube bad celebrity pitches, you'll see a whole host of them. So I think that's what Mayu, not to cut you off, brother, but I think that's what Mayu's training for. And to anybody that is going to said baseball game, if you've ever seen Mayu throw out the baseballs or her wristbands at a wrestling show, just make sure that you're careful.
Yes, I will be perfectly honest that it's a mixed bag, her throwing. Bless her. She does some really good ones, and then there's some that are frightening. Like I say, mixed bag, but I think if you're in the Yokohama area, never mind the stadium, the actual area itself, just maybe wear a hard hat because Lord knows where this baseball is going to end up. But yes, best of luck to Mayu. I'm sure she'll be fine, joining the likes of Kazuchika Okada and Jushin Liger, who have all thrown first pitches at baseball games. And lastly, but not leastly, if you follow Tekla on social media, you will see that she has been pursuing another passion aside from wrestling and being a punk rock musician. She has actually have her own gallery up at the moment. Her exhibition called KO City is currently being housed in the Gallery Hakuzen in Tokyo and is up until the 6th of May. And Matt, I don't know if you've seen any of these pieces, but they are quite incredible. This woman is very, very talented in almost every facet, it seems.
No, I haven't seen it. Obviously, I'm a big fan of art, so that's something that I'm going to have to take a look at. So, Rob, what you're telling me is that she's good at heavy metal music. Mm-hmm. She's really good at wrestling, which we know. And now you're telling me she's an artist? That's terrific.
Yeah, and don't forget, she's wrestling in a country where Japanese is not her first language, so has already learnt, presumably because I think she's Austrian. Yes, she is Austrian. So she will know Austrian, English, and Japanese. So she's also multilingual, as though being an artist, a musician, and a wrestler isn't enough.
Good on her. Congratulations, Tekla, on all your success, and we hope to see you back in the ring sometime soon.
Absolutely. Right. So, fighting through technical difficulties and everything, which you haven't heard, ladies and gentlemen, because we've cut them out, but even so, I suppose it's time to talk about these 4 shows that we've got to talk about. So, obviously, the shows from the 13th and the 14th weren't up on Stardom World last week, so we couldn't talk about them. We're going to whip through them very shortly, and then we're going to talk about this weekend's live streams from the 20th in Kobe and the 21st in Osaka. So we'll start our review from the 13th of April. Great day, the best day, some would argue.
Rob's birthday, all sorts of birthdays we have, and it's my sister-in-law's birthday tomorrow, so all sorts of birthdays in the month of April.
See, it's just a great month. It's just a great month. But yes, we have a show from Numazu in Shizuoka from the Kira Mess Numazu in front of 335 people. The card is as follows. So in a singles match, Lady C defeated Rani Agami with a modified figure 4 necklock in 6 minutes and 32 seconds. In a singles match, Fukigen Death defeated Rian in 4 minutes and 42 seconds with an O'Connor roll. In a 6-woman tag, the God's Eye team of Amisuri, Saki Kashima, and Syuri defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Aya Sakura, Sayaka Kurora, and Yuna Mizumori, with Sayaka Kurora eating the pin after Saki Kashima was launched into the air by Amisuri and Syuri into an assisted body splash in 9 minutes and 2 seconds. It's my favourite finish of the 4 shows.
Probably my favorite finish ever, Rob. Might be my favorite finish ever.
Absolutely. You can take your WrestleMania 13. No. 8-woman tag match.
Instead of the Undertaker? Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, what a main event. Crazy Star, Meisei and Suzu Suzuki, and then Queen's Quest, Miyu Hamasaki and Saya Kamatani defeated the Stars team of Mayu, Koguma, Hazuki, and Momokogo, with Meisei getting the submission victory over Momokogo with the Meteor Dragon. In a 6-woman tag for your semi-main event, EXV, Maika, Waka Tsukiyama, and Xena defeated the Uedatai team of Momo Watanabe, Natsuka Tora, and Ruaka in 11 minutes and 1 second. Xena pinning Ruaka. And then in your main event, for me, one of the matches of these 4 shows, tag team action, the Wingori team of Hanan and Saya Iida defeated the former Goddess of Stardom champions Meltier, with Hanan pinning Natsupoi in 15 minutes and 45 seconds with her 17 roll-up. Matt, main event aside, which was, as you put it, one of the tag matches of the year, and that's not hyperbole, I thought this was a very solid card.
Yeah, again, we got 4 shows to go through and then the big review for All-Star Grand Queendom. So we're kind of just going to whip through this. I do want to touch upon the main event, but really quickly, I want to talk about match number 4, the Stars team versus the Saya Kamatani, Miyu Hamasaki, and the tag team champions of Suzu Suzuki and Mei Seira in Crazy Star. I thought this was great. I'm going to give my star rating right out the get-go here. I had this at 4 stars. I thought this was terrific. I thought Momo Kogo in all these shows, for everything that she's been through with her injuries and whatnot, that I thought Momo Kogo was great in all these shows, especially this match. They did a great job highlighting her versus Mei Seira getting towards the end of the match. And if it is something where they go back and put the high-speed championship on Mei Seira, which I believe that they should, and I think they are, I would love to see Momo Kogo and Mei have a high-speed championship match somewhere, either on a Korakuen or a pay-per-view. Mayu and Saya Kamatani was great. Anytime I see Saya Kamatani and Hazuki on opposite ends of the ring, I always, sit up a little bit more because of just how terrific those two are. I like how it starts off with, we got some high-speed action with Koguma and Mei Seira. That was really good. And Rob, maybe this is just wishful thinking on my part. Me being a giant fan of Queen's Quest. Obviously, we've had over the last handful of years, we've had 2 big departures in Queen's Quest, and one, Momo Watanabe, when she defected to go to a Uedatai at the end of 2021. Then obviously just recently here with Utami Hayashishita. There is no home country for Suzu Suzuki and Mei Seira. Maybe, just maybe, Rob, because they fit in really well here with Saya and Miyu Hamasaki. Maybe we see Suzu Suzuki and Mei Seira joining Queen's Quest. I'm just saying, my friend. I'm just saying. But I thought this match was terrific. How about you?
Yeah, you look at who's involved, and you know it's going to be good. And this was, for me, another really good short, but another really good outing for Miyu Hamasaki, who, again, goes from strength to strength. And I think, as many members of Queen's Quest do, has really found her niche now that she has her entrance gown. But overall, thought it was really, really good. Any chance, like you said, that we get to see Hazuki versus Saya Kamatani, or Hazuki versus Suzu Suzuki, or even Mayu versus Saya, it's a real pleasure to watch. And I thought this was a really, really good undercard tag. And it really does epitomize what's so enjoyable about some of these Stardom house shows. Because as we know, Hazuki only has one gear, and that gear is kill. But what else do you want to talk about before we get into the main event?
Yeah, let's get to the main event. I mean, I talked about at the beginning of the show. I have 2 new nicknames for Saya Iida. Coming off the Cork and Hall, we now have main event Saya Iida.
Damn right.
After I watch this match, I text you and I'm like, I can't wait because I got to tell you the new name for Saya Iida. She is, especially in this match, she is the idol killer. Because boy, howdy.
Jeez Louise.
Boy, howdy. She put a beating on Tam and Natsupoi. And Tam and Natsupoi, they're not just the cute idols that are come in to do a couple quick moves. Obviously, if you listen to this podcast, you know how violent their murder pixie and one Tam Nakano is on the Tam Road. But Saya Iida was having none of it. I'm not saying not like she didn't sell or anything like that, but everything that Meltier gave to Saya Iida gave it back tenfold. And the bumping and the feeding that Tam and Natsupoi did for Saya Iida, again, I think this is done on purpose because I think there's a big picture in the next handful of months for Saya Iida. I think she's going to have an absolute breakout tournament in this year's 5-star Grand Prix, basically kind of what 2022 did for Mina Shirakawa and what 2023 did for Natsuko Tora and Ami Sourei. I expect that when this tournament is done for the 5-star Grand Prix, I think that we're going to look at Saya Iida saying, she's someone that can main event a big show or a pay-per-view for either the Wonder or World of Stardom Championship. This is Meltier's first straight up tag match in a long time. And I'm not talking like 6-person, but actual tag match. I mean, they had a really good and underrated run with the Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Championship. They obviously cut that short because Tam wound up winning the World of Stardom Championship. Natsupoi would go on to team with Soriano. Natsupoi gets hurt. Tam gets hurt. So this was their first tag match back. And obviously they're in a big attraction tag match coming up on All-Star Grand Queendom this Saturday, which we'll get into. But for them not teaming together in quite some time, they didn't miss a beat. They look great. But boy, Wingori was terrific here. Again, we mentioned how great Saya Iida was in this match. Hanan as well. The main crux of this match is to build up Hanan for the biggest match in her career, going up against Soriano for the Wonder of Stardom Championship at the Yokohama Buntai this weekend. And they did a great job. The building of Hanan versus Soriano and Momo and Micah over these last 5 or 6 shows has been nothing but flawless. Absolutely perfect from not only the booking committee, but from the competitors as well. And it's just making these championship matches stick out even more this weekend. But yeah, I thought this was terrific. For this being a house show, I guess maybe we'll start changing the name of house show to maybe Stardom World Show, since they're going to start being live streamed. That might just sound a little bit better, but this is one of the best Stardom World shows that the company has ever put on. This was great. All 4 wrestlers looked terrific. The pushing of Hanan here was great, with Natsupoi eating the fall. And again, the building to Hanan, not only just Hanan, but Saya Iida as well, as Wingori is. We've always been fans of Wingori, but these last handful of tag matches that they had, they really coming to their own. And again, I mentioned they may be the best tag team in all of wrestling. This is a terrific match. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. Well worth your time. 4.5 stars, my friend.
Yeah, I gave it 4.25. Really, really, really good match. And you're absolutely right. It really does show where they're positioning Hanan in this company, that she's got clean victories over so many big stars in this company. I know Natsupoi isn't necessarily main event talent, but even so, giving Wingori a victory over Meltier, when Tam and Natsupoi are so marketable towards this company, I think is a really, really big indication of the plans that they have for Hanan. Saya Iida, you're absolutely right. Some of those chops she was ringing off Tam's chest was absolutely brutal. And we've seen the punishment that Tam has taken, especially at the hands of Julia. And at one point, Tam is literally begging Saya off because she's hitting her that hard, which she's a brute, and I absolutely love it, Matt. I'm really excited to see what the future holds for Saya Iida, and I do agree. I think, she might not necessarily get a handful of wins in the 5-star, but I think she could be that breakout star. Most 5-stars that we've seen have had one. We've had Hanan breakout. We've had Mina breakout. I think Saya Iida could quite easily be the next one as well. Really, really, really good match. Obviously, we're going to go through 4 shows, but there's going to be 2 matches that I absolutely implore you to go and watch, and this is one of them. So, go out of your way to see this one. Really, really, really good match. We move on to the 14th of April, which saw Stardom in Act City Hamamatsu. in Shizuoka in front of a full house, Matt, of 608 people. Another full house for Stardom, which is always a plus. The results are as follows. So in a three-way match, Saki Kashima stole Miyu Amasaki's pin after Miyu hit Rian with the Tenzai. Saki came in, stole the pin at 5 minutes and 57 seconds. Six-woman tag match saw the Stars team of Momokogo, Hanan, and Saya Iida defeat the Cosmic Angels team of Natsuko, Yuna Mizumori, and Aya Sakura, with Hanan getting the pinfall again over Aya Sakura with the blockbuster hold. In a tag team match, the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano and Sayaka Kurora defeated the Ueda Tai team of Rina and Fukigen Death, with Tam getting the pinfall over Fukigen Death with the Dodon Tam in 9 minutes and 7 seconds. In a six-woman tag, a match that I'm sure Matt absolutely loved, the Stars team of Mayu, Koguma, and Hazuki defeated the God's Eye team of Syuri, Amisuri, and Rana Yagami, with Koguma getting the pinfall over Rana Yagami with FWC's double team neck breaker slam in 12 minutes and 33 seconds. Though those that were looking at the results on Cage Match may have noticed that there was actually a mistake in the semi-main event. It was, in fact, Prominence who got the victory in the 8-woman tag. The team of Akana Fujita, Hiragi Kurumi, Moki Natsumi, and Risa Seira defeating the Crazy Star team of Mei Seira and Suzu Suzuki, Lady C, and Saya Kamatani, with Kurumi getting the pinfall over Lady C with a diving body press in 15 minutes and 10 seconds. And then in your main event, EXV, Maika Wakasukiyama and Xena defeated the Ueda Tai team of Momo Watanabe, Natsuko Tora, and Ruaka with... No, that's incorrect. I apologize. The Ueda Tai team of Momo Watanabe, Natsuko Tora, and Ruaka defeated EXV. What am I doing? Maika Wakasukiyama and Xena, with Momo pinning Xena with the Peach Sunrise. Matt, what was worth checking out on this Hamamatsu card then?
Rob Goodwin, as you know, I'm very old school when it comes to my notes. I have tablets upon tablets, and I write my notes like a college student. Only once in a blue moon does the yellow highlighter come out. And the yellow highlighter, yes, the yellow highlighter came out in match number 4, where I simply highlighted Hazuki and Syuri violence. This is what we wanted to see for quite some time, and I hope somewhere down the road we see a program between Hazuki and Syuri. And it doesn't even need to be for a championship. They can do something where it's on a Korakuen, and maybe Hazuki gets the win, and then they go to a pay-per-view where it's UWF rules, and Syuri gets a win, and then maybe somewhere down the line, then they would have like the blow-off match. But these two just absolutely destroy each other in a good way, very safe way. Just the kicks, the forearms, whole bunch of really, really good stuff there. It was a really good match, don't get me wrong. Rana Yagami, you can tell she's being coached on Syuri on how to throw those kicks, how to throw those forearms and the submissions as well. Not only that, but where to put them in the match where it's going to make its most, where it's going to make its most, not damage, but where it's going to mean the most. I thought that was really good. Again, the match was excellent. Koguma was great. Obviously, it's Mayu. She's terrific. Mayu and Syuri, they have phenomenal chemistry. Again, what was my match of the year up until Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay from this last weekend was Mayu versus Syuri from the Tokyo Dome City Hall show. So anytime that Mayu and Syuri are in the ring, it's always magic. But I have this at 3 3/4 stars. But the main thing to take away from this was just the violence that Syuri and Hazuki bestowed upon each other in this match, Rob.
We're simple men, Matt. We're simple men. Sometimes we just want two badasses stood in the middle of the ring beating the ever-loving Jimmy out of each other. And Hazuki and Syuri provided that. And there's a great still on the Stardom website. And it's Mayu taking a kick to the back from Syuri. And, sometimes you will get a chop, or you'll get a forearm, or you'll get a kick, and it changes your face on impact. And someone manages to capture that perfect camera shot of that moment. There's one of Mayu receiving a kick from Syuri, and her face no longer looks like Mayu because of the impact, and it properly tickled me. We do need a name for FWC's Double Team Netbreaker, though, because I didn't feel right just writing that. I feel like we need some sort of bear-inspired name. Maybe people on Patreon will be able to come up with a decent name.
I just been calling it when I did the FWC Never done anything on Patreon with them. I just call it the Powerbomb Neckbreaker combo. Because I guess technically that's what it is, but this is Japan, Rob. This is Stardom, where we have fancy names for everything.
We do.
So I tell you what, here's what we're going to do. If you live in the United States, we're going to have a contest. Whoever comes up with the best name for that, whoever wins it, I will mail you stickers, a whole bunch of Stardom cast stickers on my own expense. The reason why I say it has to be in the United States is because I've tried to mail these stickers to like Australia, even to Canada. And it's insane amount of money. So there it is, folks. A little free contest if you're in the United States, and yet whoever comes up with the best name for the Powerbomb Neckbreaker combination, that you get some free stickers, courtesy of myself and Rob over at the Stardom Cast.
Or if someone from Canada says something, you can steal it, and then we'll mail you stickers. There you go. What about anything else on this card, Matt, that people should check out? Obviously, I knew the main event would be great, but what in terms of anything else should people be checking out? What did you think of Prominence's re-emergence onto the Stardom stage? Were you a fan of all four women? Was there somebody who stole the limelight for you?
No, I mean, obviously the two main members of Prominence is Risa Sera and Karuma Hiragi. Obviously, it was Suzu, but then obviously Suzu last year signed with Stardom, which we're all so happy for. But no, Risa, Sera, and Karuma Hiragi, they were all good. This was a good match. It was a good match to bring them back in. I thought they looked dominant here. I thought Lady C was really good here. I thought Suzu and May did a great job building up their match for the next week's show with Risa and Hiragi, and obviously you have Saya Kamatani in there. So she's terrific as well. It's nice to see Prominence. I know we made mention last week that this may be just kind of a one-off, just to start padding maybe this championship run for Crazy Star, maybe to get it off in the right way. I wouldn't be heartbroken at all. Actually, I would kind of welcome it if we saw more Prominence in Stardom, especially with Risa Sera and Karumi Hiragi, because I thought that they were terrific. And those are two wrestlers that have a big name on the Joshi scene. So I would like to see them back sprinkled in some Stardom matches from time to time. How about you, buddy?
I wouldn't mind. When it comes to tournaments, I think they are good hands to have. But I am going to say something a little bit controversial now, and this may not go down well, but I am not big into Risa Sera singles matches. She's had some good matches, but I've never been fully invested in a singles match. Her tag matches, however, I'm a big fan of. I think her stuff in the Triangle Derby was great. Her run with Hiragi Karumi in was it the Triangle Derby?
Yeah, her and Suzu, they won the first one.
Yes, and then they entered the tag league, didn't they? That was right. And then run the tag league was great. But I'm not a massive Risa Sera singles fan. Now, I'm sure people will come to me and say, check this match out. And I'm more than happy to do that. If you remember Chuck Norris, the man so strong that he birthed an entire category of jokes about his unparalleled strength. We all have a favourite joke, right? Chuck Norris can do a wheelie on a unicycle. Some people are afraid of the dark. The dark is afraid of Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris makes onions cry in the evergreen. When Chuck Norris does a push-up, he's pushing the earth down. Have you ever wondered what happened to him? Well, I recently saw a video of the now 84-year-old Chuck Norris, and let me tell you, he still looks like he can beat the sun in a staring contest. He says he's even stronger, has more stamina, and plenty of energy left over for his grandkids since making one simple health change that helps his digestion and nutrition. In fact, he still says he feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even made the same change, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger and has more energy than an Azumi and Starlight Kid high-speed match. Many of us, myself included, do not include the necessary fruits, vegetables, and other herbs that increase health and energy in our own diets. And it's a lingering problem for a lot of us. And actually, I don't mind telling you that my stomach feels like it's been on the receiving end of a Hazuki pump kick on more than one occasion because of it. However, Chuck Norris has made a special video that explains how he has incorporated these things with just one simple product. And you can watch it now by going to mymorningkick.com/stardomcast. It may change your approach to your own health. Once again, that's mymorningkick.com/stardomcast. And now, back to this week's episode.
I'll do it for you. I was when I was doing my review for the Patreon of the World Climax of the 5-star Grand Prix nights 1 and night 2. I kind of fell down a hole of watching some Mike and Himika matches. Go back, buddy. They're not, by no means is it Julia versus Syuri. Go back and watch Risa Sera versus Micah and Himika from the 2022 5-star Grand Prix. I think that you'll enjoy them.
Okay, I will. I might take you up on that, good sir. The main event then. I've really enjoyed the build to Momo and Micah, and I know that we're going to talk about the stipulation that has been made a part of this match, but I just like the ferocity that they have towards each other, and obviously it only escalates as we got onto the live streamed weekend where they literally had to be separated. What did you think about this as an installment in their feud?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Tora, Ruaka, Xena, and Waka, they did a great job as role players in this. But this, especially being the main event of this show, and that we're building, trying to sell to roughly around 4,000 tickets, this is all about Momo and Micah. And I mentioned a few minutes ago, the build has been perfect. I know a lot of people kind of scratch their head like, why is this 2 out of 3 falls? Watch these matches on these Stardom World shows that builds to it, and then you'll understand, because the sheer violence between Momo and Micah is going to be off the charts. I know that Mayu said that she's afraid of these sorry forearms, and we know that Mayu at last year's Dream Queendom put a knot on the head of one Mercedes Monet, so you know that's going to be hard hitting. But as far as hard-hitting matches go, I think this might be one of the most hard-hitting matches in the history of Stardom, and I can't wait to watch it again. The build-up has been nothing but perfect. How it's been booked, the timing, the pacing, and then obviously the participants in Micah and Momo really, really has me super excited for this match coming up on Saturday. That's the back. Xena's great ever since she's come back. She's been on a completely different level, especially with her striking, and her striking with Momo at the end really built up well, ultimately for Momo just to beat her. Again, we're doing a great job building Momo up for this World of Stardom Championship. It's very much the belt that she has never been able to get a hold of. She's had three shots at it with Syuri, with Mayu, with Utami, 3 of the best runs ever, and has ever come ever so close. And this is her first shot at this belt in almost 2 years, since 2022. So they're doing a great job building her up in this heel role and just making her a bigger badass and a bigger bruiser than she already is. And Micah's not stepping back. You know, she's very much on the vein of like I worked my ass off to get to this belt. You know, I was in DDM with Julia and Syuri, and I had to, surpass all of them to win this belt, and I'm not going to let it go. The build's been perfect. I thought this match was great. But again, it's all about Micah and Momo. I thought it was pretty good. I had 3 3/4 stars. My second favorite match of the show. I did like the God's Eye versus Stars match a little bit better. But very, very violent built up to Micah and Momo. And I'm pretty sure that they will deliver this Saturday in the Yokohama Buntai.
Let's move on then to the 20th of April. Kobe Sambo Hall in Hyogo, Japan. This was streamed live on Stardom World, and it took place in front of 305 people. The card and results are as follows. A tag team match opened proceedings with Crazy Star, Mei Seira and Suzu Suzuki defeating the Cosmic Angels team of Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurora. Mei Seira pinning Sayaka Kurora with the Meteor Dragon in 10 minutes and 58 seconds. A 4-way match saw Natsupoi defeat Amisori, Lady C, and Rian, pinning Rian with the Ferial Gift in 8 minutes and 11 seconds. In a 3-way, 9-woman tag match, the Queen's Quest team of Azumi Miyu Amasaki and Saya Kamatani defeated the God's Eye team of Rani Yagami, Saki Kashima and Syuri, and the Stars team of Hazuki Momokogo and Saya Iida, with Saya Kamatani pinning the high-speed champion Saki Kashima in 10 minutes and 25 seconds with a Frankensteiner. That is going to be important later, and also led to one of the funniest backstage promos I've seen. Six-woman tag match followed this. The Stars team of Hanan, Koguma, and Mayu Iwatani defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Syuri Anou, Tam Nakano, and Yuna Mizumori, with Hanan once again getting the pinfall with the backdrop hold over Yuna Mizumori in 14 minutes and 26 seconds. And then in a best 2 out of 3 falls 10-woman tag, the Empress Nexus Venus team of Hanako, Maika, Mina Shirakawa, Waka Tsukiyama, and Xena defeated the Oedetai team of Fukigen Death, Momo Watanabe, Natsukatora, Rina, and Ruaka 2-1 in 19 minutes and 12 seconds. Maika getting the final fall over Fukigen Death with the Michinoku Driver 2. Matt, so we knew going into All-Star Grand Queendom, and we'll go into this in a lot more detail during our preview, that we were missing a lot of people off this card. Saya Kamatani was, in fact, one of them. Did you foresee in any way that she will be challenging for the high-speed championship at All-Star Grand Queendom?
I did not. Real quick, buddy, what was the house number on this one? I missed that.
This was 305 people inside Kobe Sambo Hall.
Okay. Now, I did not watch these shows live as I was away at Catch Wrestling Camp this weekend, but I did on the break I had, I was looking through Twitter and I was like, oh, they're clearly building to Saya Kamatani versus Saki Kashima. They wouldn't for the high-speed championship. And I'm like, that's kind of random considering the fact that Saya Kamatani was, in my opinion, on the last year, the best match on that show for the Wonder of Stardom championship with Mina Shirakawa. So it's like, well, and a lot of people were kind of up in arms, like, this is what they have for Saya Kamatani. I was like, well, you can't push everybody at the same time. And if this is, and again, I thought before Sunday's show, I thought there was going to be a singles match. I was like, well, Saya's probably, we're thinking, going to win the 5-star Grand Prix. Utami's left the company. What else are you going to do with Saya Kamatani between now and the 5-star Grand Prix? And if she wins the high-speed championship, she does wrestle very much like a high-speed wrestler. You remember at that promo afterwards, Azumi's like, I would love to see you as a high-speed champion. Azumi, the queen of the high-speed. In my opinion, the greatest high-speed champion of all time. So it's like, not only does this give Saya Kamatani something to do between now and the 5-star Grand Prix, again, presuming that she's going to win, I think that would be the way to go, at least for now. But then it takes the high-speed championship and it makes it even that much more important because now you're putting it on a proven main eventer. Again, look what Saya Kamatani has done in the few runs with the Goddess of Stardom championship. Elevated them. Look what she did with the Wonder of Stardom championship. No disrespect to the phenomenal wrestlers, Rob, that have held that championship. The Arisa Hoshinkis, the Momo Watanabes, the Tams, the Julias, the Ios, the Kairis, the Momos. Nobody is better with that belt than Saya Kamatani. So it's like, okay, you're going to give Saya Kamatani something to do, and it's going to raise the prestige of the high-speed championship. That's where I thought they're going, and then obviously we'll get into the four-way that's coming upon us, which is now very, very interesting. And again, we'll talk about that in a little bit when we preview the show. But yeah, I'm going to ask you the same question, my man. When this was kind of proposed that it was going to be a singles match for All-Star Grand Queendom, what was your thought process?
Well, you say it was proposed, Matt. Saki Kashima then went backstage and categorically denied the fact that this match was going to happen because, and I quote, she is a very good wrestler. If I wrestle her, I'm obviously going to lose. And you could see Syuri next to her just creasing up. I love Saki Kashima. She's so funny. I'm not wrestling her. I'll obviously lose my title if I wrestle her. Absolutely not. And now she's wrestling in a 4-way. But getting back to your question, I actually quite like this. It was a curveball, but it was one where I was like, actually, I can imagine Saya Kamatani putting on banger matches whilst we wait to heat her up ready for the red belt picture, and she could really elevate that title, like you said. Saya Kamatani versus Starlight Kid, we know is a proven matchup that works. Saya Kamatani versus Azumi, Saya Kamatani versus Meisera, Saya Kamatani versus Suzuki, which, we loved that match from roughly this time last year. There are lots of matches that you can have to really up not the prestige of the championship, 'cause I think that's not a fair comment, but to really highlight that championship. I personally don't think they should have taken it off Meisera in the first place, But I think if you were then to give Saya Kamatani a 150, 200-day run where she had 4 or 5 absolute bangers and then maybe have her lose it back to Mei Seira, I think that's a win-win for everyone, and then put Saya Kamatani into that red belt or white belt picture once again. I think that's a really, really good idea. Obviously, as you've mentioned, it's now a 4-way, so God knows what's going to happen, because it's also got Fukic and Death in there, and as we know, it's a 4-way. You can never bet against the clown. But yeah, other than that, I thought it was a really, really good idea. It was interesting to see where everything else was going to go, but it turns out that all Stardom did was just go, do you know what? We're not going to have singles matches. Just put everyone in all of the title matches. And actually, it's made for quite an exciting card, which we're going to talk about very, very shortly. What else would you like to talk about in regards to this card then, Matt?
Rob, other than the sheer violence that Momo and Micah once again had on each other, we're going to talk about probably the most important thing on this show was main event Saya Iida, the Joshi killer, all full of adrenaline, taking her coat and throwing it, and it getting caught in the rafters, and then Hazuki just being the best person ever. Another reason why Hazuki is the best and why they need to belt up Hazuki. Hazuki being the good friend, basically springs off the middle rope and is able to pull down her coat during the entrances of this match and gets a huge pop from the crowd. Again, Hazuki, is there anything, very much like Tekla, is there anything she can't do? But all joking aside, as funny as that was, and it was hilarious how Saya Iida just does the gorilla thing, takes the coat, throws it, and you could just see it in her face. She's got the terrible poker face, like, oh, damn, that wasn't supposed to happen. I'll figure out later how to get it down. And then Hazuki's like, no, don't worry, gorilla. I got you. The Wild Hearts got you. I thought that was funny, but I think, this matchup, I mean, again, look who's in there. You have Rana Yugami, who I absolutely love. Sherry's one of my favorite wrestlers in all of wrestling. Saki Kashima, again, somebody completely different. My buddy Norm's favorite wrestler in Stardom. And then you have Azumi, Saya Kamatani, Miyu Amasaki, 3 fantastic wrestlers in my favorite faction of all of wrestling. And then, of course, Momo Kogo. Again, I'm so glad Momo Kogo is back. She looks healthy. I completely forgot that she's in the Mayu movie as well. I did see the long trailer. I'm like, I forgot that Sherry and Momo Kogo are in the Mayu movie. So, again, Momo Kogo has looked great in all these matches. She looks terrific. She looks like she belongs in that upper mid-card level. And then again, you have Hazuki and Saya Iida. I thought the match was terrific despite the beforehand shenanigans. It was my second favorite match of this show. I actually had it 3 3/4 stars. Again, you had more Hazuki and Syuri violence, nowhere near as much as the violence from the show before, but still some really, really good stuff. And again, Hazuki versus Syuri, somewhere big singles match. I would love to see it. But my favorite match from the show, partner, was the match that happened afterwards with Mayu, Hanan and Kagama versus Sarah Anu, Yuna Mizumori, and Tam Nakano. We mentioned before, and we'll mention again in a moment, how perfectly built up Micah versus Momo Watanabe has been. This was really kind of the first time we got to see Hanan and Sori Anu since the match, has been official for the Wonder of Stardom Championship on opposite sides. Mayu was great. Kagama was great. Yuna Mizumori, we always sing her praises. And I mean, Tam is just, she's fantastic. She's Tam. We're all walking the Tam road. But they did a great job after everybody got their stuff in to kind of just lay out and let Hanan and Sori Anu play out. And I know that once the match was announced a few weeks ago, you're already giving out 4.5 stars. I'm like, Rob must drive a DeLorean, folks, because he's already given out 4.5 stars. If this is a preview of what we're going to see on Saturday, holy geez, this might hit the 5-star mark because these two were fantastic. Hanan is on the roll of her life, coming off the Cinderella win. Suri Anu has been on fire ever since the 5-star Grand Prix. Then those 2 matches with Mirai for the Wonder of Stardom Championship were really, really good. And then coming off that fantastic must-see match with Starlight Kid. So you literally have Sori Anu at her best, Hanan at her best for the Wonder of Stardom Championship on the biggest show of the year. And they did a great job building this one up. I actually had this one at the 4-star mark, partner.
You literally answered my question, because my question was going to be, after seeing this exchange, did it make you more excited at the premise of Sayori Anu and Hanan? But you answered that perfectly. I am so excited for this match. On a card that has Mayu Iwatani versus Sari, Hanan and Sayori Anu might be one I'm as excited for. I'm not going to say the stupid thing and say I'm more excited for it. It's Mayu Iwatani and Sari, for God's sake. But, it feels like a huge white belt match. Do I think Hanan will win? Well, you have to find out in our preview. But it feels like, I feel like Stardom have done, over these 4 shows, have done a very, very good job of both letting the feuds breathe and making the matches feel very individual, but making them feel very, very important. Hanan feels like she's climbing a mountain to get to the white belt, to get to Sayori Anu. It feels like she's plowed through the rest of Cosmic Angels to get to Sayori Anu, which is a really great story to tell. Whereas Maika and Momo Watanabe are just trying to beat the ever-loving hell out of each other. And that's really exciting to see. It's not the same build, but they are equally good. And I think both have been done and have been booked very, very well. With that being said, let's move on to our final show that we want to talk about, which is from the 21st of April inside Edion Arena, Osaka, number 2. 389 people on the docket as we live stream again. And the results are as follows. 8-woman tag match. The Queen's Quest team of Azumi, who makes her first appearance. Lady C, Miyu Amasaki, and Saya Kamatani, her second appearance. Sorry, I don't know why I said first. Defeating the Cosmic Angels team of Aya Sakura, Sayaka Kurora, Tam Nakano, and Yuna Mizumori in 12 minutes and 10 seconds. Azumi pinning Sayaka Kurora with the diving double foot stomp in 12 minutes and 10 seconds. In a 3-way match, Saya Iida defeats Rian and Saki Kashima in 8 minutes and 26 seconds. Saya Iida winning with the Iida Bashi and inserting herself into that high-speed 4-way. We've then got a 6-woman tag team match. The Stars team of Hazuki Koguma and Momokogo defeating the God's Eye team of Amisori, Rani Yagami, and Syuri. Hazuki pinning Rani Yagami with the diving senton in 12 minutes and 58 seconds. In an 8-woman tag match, the Uedatai team of Ruaka, Fukigen Death, Natsukatora, and Starlight Kid defeated the Empress Nexus Venus team of Hanako, Mina Shirakawa, Waka, Tsukiyama, and Xena in 14 minutes and 23 seconds. Ruaka pinning Hanako with the Freezer Bomb. In your semi-main, a All-Star Grand Queendom preview match, the team of Hanan, Momo Watanabe, and Natsupoi, and the team of Maika, Mayu Iwatani, and Sayori Anu went to a 20-minute time limit draw in a match that surprised no one in going to a TLD, but was predictable in just how good it's going to be. And then in your main event, Crazy Star, the 31st Goddess of Stardom champions, Mei Seira and Suzu Suzuki, made their first successful title defense, defeating the Prominence team of Risa, Seira, and Hiragi Kurumi. Suzu Suzuki pinning Kurumi in 18 minutes and 52 seconds with the German suplex. Matt, obviously, will talk about the title match in a moment. A very, very good title match in front of a crowd that was, let's say, apathetic at best. Certainly not the Osaka crowd that we're used to. But overall, I'd say from top to bottom, this was perhaps the best card of all 4.
Yeah, I agree. I think everything was pretty solid. Again, match number 3, you had more Syuri versus Hazuki Violence. I don't know if that was maybe a tip to me and you, buddy. I don't know, but I thought that was really good. Obviously, what they're doing is what they built up on the main event. We forgot to talk about on the last show with that 2 out of 3 falls match is they've done a pretty good job last second building to Mina versus Natsukatora. So they had that in there and that 2 out of 3 falls match as well as the Maika and Momo Violence. And then match number 4, you got more of it here where you see Mina and Tor really, really going at each other. And that's going to be a low key barn burner, hard hitter of a match on an absolute stack show. But for me, as good as matches 1 and 4 were, really where it hits a completely different level, the Stardom level, if you will, is on the main event and co-main event. Mm-hmm. Again, I mentioned it a handful of times before, they've done a great job building to Maika and Momo and a great job building to Han and Soriano. And they did all of that in this one match to build it up even more. I guess they couldn't get Sari in to oppose Mayu, so they just put her good friend Natsupoi in. And again, I'm not going to say no to Natsupoi, versus Mayu or anything really there, but there was some really cool spot. It's really funny when we have these tag matches, and especially when we have like Tam and Natsupoi on opposite sides, where they forget who they're teaming with. We've been seeing that quite a bit, especially with Julia and Tam as Julia's Stardom career was coming to a close, but they just teamed them up just for the fun of it. And then you can see Meltier teamwork on Julia, and Julia's like, "Are you kidding me?" And we saw that here where Natsupoi and Soriano were doing teamwork on Hanan, and then they were teamwork on Mayu, and then Mayu and Hanan started doing teamwork on everybody else. And I was like writing in my notes, and I was just like, and I had to pause it because it took me a second. I was like, wait a minute here. This isn't, I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of like the Stardom fun thing to do. It's like, because we team all the time, it just feels natural. So that I thought that was pretty funny, and it kind of added a little comedy to the match. And then once we got Mike and Momo, it's like, no comedy here, just violence. And then when we got Soriano, really, really good wrestling. Again, this was terrific. I was, as this match was in the 9-10 minute mark, I'm kind of thinking to myself, because I didn't see the spoilers, like, who wins this match? I'm like, I guess maybe Natsupoi would eat the fall here because she ate the fall with Hanan. Maybe she eats another fall here with either Hanan or Micah. But then as it's going, I'm like, I really hope this goes to a time limit draw. I really do, because it would just benefit the match more, giving 20 minutes to these two teams and these 6 great wrestlers. And it did. It did everything it needed to do. Again, we're selling tickets, we're selling pay-per-views, we're selling Stardom World subscriptions for this All-Star Grand Queendom, and this match was absolutely perfect. Again, Natsupoi was terrific. The Momo Micah violence was great, and Soriano and Hanan. Again, if this is just a little preview of what we're getting in Yokohama Buntai, those 3 big championship matches that we're having, this could be the card of the year. It really, really can, just off the back of that. And then what is going to be an absolute crazy Goddess of Stardom championship match as well. This was terrific. If you haven't seen this yet, go and watch it. Well worth your 20 minutes. 6 of the best wrestlers, not just in Stardom. It's called like we see it. 6 of the best wrestlers in all of wrestling, going at it, giving 100% for 20 minutes. 4.25 stars for me, good sir.
I'd disagree with anything you've said there, Matt. I think all 6 women looked fantastic. The match flowed brilliantly. And even though we didn't have the final piece of that match, so to speak, with Syuri being in it, I think Natsupoi filled that void expertly, because she's such a lovable babyface. She's so good in ring, and also she takes a beating like nobody else. And we say it all the time. She's great at being the murder pixie, but she's great at selling being beaten up as well. Really, really, really good match. Another one for you to absolutely check out. That, and of course, this main event. I thought, in spite of, as I mentioned, a quite apathetic Osaka crowd, to the point where I just thought they hadn't been mic'd properly. But they were mic'd. They were just quiet. I thought this match was great. But before we get into the match, I want to talk to you about Prominence's theme, Matt, because I don't know when we got Space ZZ Top as Prominence's entrance theme, but I quite liked it.
Whoa, I like how you put that, Space ZZ Top. Maybe for the next big show, maybe they can bring in ZZ Top with the long beards to play out Prominence. But yeah, I've enjoyed their theme. I didn't put Space ZZ Top, but I see where you're going with that one, my man. But yeah, I thought that was really, really good, to kind of go with the Crazy Star theme in the main event. But yeah, I didn't see it that way, but I agree. Space ZZ Top. There you go. That might be the next T-shirt. Maybe we'll do Space ZZ Top with Risa Sayre and Karumi Haragi's likeness with the ZZ Top beards.
Absolutely. Speaking of people who are great at taking a beating, I thought Mei Seira, who, by the way, Crazy Star with their matching gear, looked fantastic, by the way, in this match. I thought Mei Seira did a brilliant job of taking the heat, especially from Hiragi Karumi, who really impressed me today, or during this show, anyway.
Yeah, I thought she was great. And I made mention that I think she'll probably come out, I hear, maybe like the MVP of this match. We know who she is. We've seen her in Stardom before, but between the 4 wrestlers, again, Risa was in the 2022 5-Star Grand Prix, the best one they've ever had. Obviously, Mei and Suzu are in Stardom full time. Mei, a former high-speed champion. Suzu won the 5-Star Grand Prix last year. We know, those 3 wrestlers. Where Karumi Hiragi, the handful of matches we've seen her in Stardom, has been absolutely fantastic. And again, she's the biggest, strongest one in this match. We knew she was going to throw Mei Seira around. She did, but boy, she put a beating on Suzu Suzuki. And I'm watching the match. And I know that, again, I didn't see the spoilers of this match. I didn't watch until I think a day or two after, again, because I was away getting my ass kicked at the Snake Pit USA, literally to the point that I forgot that Rob is 5 hours ahead of me, not 5 hours behind. So that was a fun conversation we had the other day. But regardless, I knew that, okay, I'm watching Suzu just taking a beating here from Kurumi Hiragi. Risa Stare was great as well. Don't get me wrong. But I'm like, okay, I know that she's going to have her comeback here. And then Suzu starts throwing the forearms, and these two are hitting each other. And yeah, the crowd, let's just say, to put a positive spin on it, the crowd was nowhere near as loud here as they were at the ECW arena a couple weeks ago. I think we'll all agree on that. But you can just hear these thuds of these forearms just hitting each other between Kurumi Hiragi and Suzu Suzuki, which I thought was great. And then I liked how Prominence had really good double teams on Suzu, and then May would come in to like with a really fast drop kick to kind of like halt everything, and they wind up hitting like their version of the Eliminators, Total Elimination. I thought that was great. Eventually, there is Suzu does a Canadian Destroyer buzzsaw kick combination to Kurumi Hiragi for a 2 count. Kurumi Hiragi comes back with the big boss man slam to Suzu Suzuki. However, May Sarah comes in again for the save. They do the lung blower German suplex combination spot they do. But then Suzu added in the tequila shot. I was like, oh, that's a really cool finish. I thought that was the finish, but Risa Sarah breaks up the finish. Then Suzu is able to come back. She hits one German suplex, and then she goes for the other. That's obviously her go-to, the locomotion. Then Kuruma Hiragi stops the second German suplex. I'm like, oh, where are they going from here? And she tries for her version, the Rainmaker. Suzu ducks, gets back waist control, and then hits the second German suplex for the pinfall. So I thought this match was great. It was layered in great tag team action. It was layered in really good violence and hard hitting stuff. And then they kind of skipped a few beats in the best way on what the finish was going to be, because you thought like one thing was going to be the finish and then it wasn't. Then you thought something else was going to be the finish, and they kind of tease you left to go right. But ultimately, it was Suzu hitting the German suplex on Kurumi Hiragi for the pinfall. 4.25 stars, probably my second favorite match from these 4 shows that we just reviewed, my friend. Really good stuff, and a great way to get Crazy Stars Championship, Goddess of Stardom Championship run off to.
Yeah, and if that wasn't exciting enough, we then had the what felt like inevitable Fukuoka Double Crazy challenge for the All-Star Grand Queendom show, and everyone was like, that's going to be great. We get to see Hazuki versus Suzu Suzuki, which we know is great. We get to see Koguma and Mei Seira in all sorts of high-speed shenanigans. Oh no, wait, more people are coming to the ring, and apparently emboldened by their choice to do a 4-way for the high-speed title, we're also now doing a 4-way for the tag titles as well. It will be Crazy Star versus FWC versus O2 line, Azumi and Miyu Amasaki, and Young Oedetai, which of course is Starlight Kid and Ruaka. More teams just kept coming out, Matt, to be perfectly honest. And at one point I was like, well, I know the Motor City Machine Guns are free at the moment. I wonder if they're the next team to come out. Alas, no. But what did you think about the fact that we're now going with a 4-way tag title match as opposed to your straight-up Crazy Star versus Fukuoka Double Crazy? Obviously, I know we've got a pay-per-view in Fukuoka, which we've had for I think the last 3 years? I think we've had it for the last 3 years in Fukuoka, the 5th of May at the end of the Golden Week tour. Do you think that someone else takes the pit? We'll talk about that in the preview. What are your thoughts about the match in general?
The 4-way? I thought it's going to be great. Yeah, we'll talk about it in the preview. But no, I gave, as far as the tag match goes, 4.25 star. But yeah, we'll get into it in the preview, my man. Which I guess not, unless you have anything to add. Did I just segue into that? Is that next?
Almost next. Almost next. Well, it might be next because it's time for Io and Kairi watch, Matt. But to my knowledge, I don't think they turned up on the shows again.
Well, you'd have to look far and wide, my friend, because they were in the very last segment on SmackDown, the main event on SmackDown. Always nice to see the female talent, any wrestling promotion, especially a male-dominated promotion like WWE, or really any promotion, get the main event spot. So the main event was Bayley, already making her first defense of the, I was going to say World of Stardom Championship, of the WWE Women's, that might be a new what if, of the WWE Women's Championship against Naomi. What they did is right before the match started, they go to the skybox where all the members of Damage Control were sitting there. Dakota Kai cuts a quick promo saying that Io is just hanging out, waiting for her championship rematch. So you figured, okay, maybe they'll run Io and Bayley back maybe at Backlash, because that's where it seems like it was going to go. However, before the match starts, Jade Cargill's music hits, and Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair are sitting in the skybox right next to where Damage Control is. Words get exchanged, and it really seems like they were teasing to a Jade and Bianca versus Kairi versus Asuka WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match, which I'm all for. The match between Bayley and Naomi happens, and it's pretty good. They work very hard. It's pretty good. And then Tiffany Stratton comes in, beats up everybody, hits the moonsault. So now it looks like they're going to maybe go to a three-way with Tiffany, Naomi, and Bayley. So that match ends in a disqualification. So, Rob, that's all that happened with Io and Kairi watch. However, Rob, I would feel terrible if I just gave two below average Io and Kairi watch segments. Obviously, last week there was nothing to talk about. So what I did is, and I wanted to do this last week, I just ran out of time because I keep telling everybody that we should have more than 24 hours in a day for me to accomplish everything I need to accomplish. So I couldn't do that last week. But this week, Rob, I went back and watched Io versus Bayley at WrestleMania. Now, as I'm sure many of you know, myself and one Rob Goodwin were at WrestleMania just a few weeks ago in Philadelphia. I've yet to go back and watch any of the matches on the Peacock Network, but I went back and watched this one. I was shocked that one Dave Meltzer gave this match 4.5 stars. He usually doesn't give women's matches that really high of a grade, especially women's matches in the States. So I went back and watched it, and as much as I enjoyed this match live at the Lincoln Financial Field a few weeks ago at WrestleMania, I enjoyed it on the second watch more. The crowd, I don't know what it was. Maybe the crowd by us was just a little quiet, because I thought the crowd's really not into this as much as I thought they would be. But from where like the main part of the crowd was really, really into this. And you did make mention that after this match was over, when we saw this match live, that you thought that Bayley got injured somewhere. And it looked like when Io was doing her handspring back elbow, Bayley was trying to step out of the way, and it looked like she jammed her knee just for a moment, and it kind of slowed her down. It could be like the simplest things that you get hurt in. And it wasn't like that she got hurt. It looked like she just jammed her knee, and then whatever happened afterwards, whether they popped it back in the socket or she just really sold. But to me, I think that's where it happened, just her moving out of the way from Io's back handspring dropkick spot. So, and you can see Bayley was kind of communicating with the referee and Io that she might not be 100%. And Io just went like full Shawn Michaels in like 2003, 2004 here, because she just bumped all over the place for Bayley, really making sure Bayley looked solid. And it got to a point where Io was hitting the German suplexes, the locomotion German suplexes that she would do in Stardom. And she's hitting the moonsault. She hits the standing moonsault, the regular one from the top rope, one from the middle rope. It gets to a point where they start chanting Io, even though they were really all for Bayley throughout this entire match, because Io is just so darn good. And then it gets to the part where Bayley, and they do a great job building up the rose plant in this match. She goes to hit it the first time, and Io stops her. And Io goes, no, Bayley, come on, I'm your friend. And Bayley has a little bit of sympathy for her, and then Io just punches her right in the throat and just starts laughing. I thought that was good. And the second time she does it, Io does that bridge right out of it that the crowd pops huge for, and they start getting behind Io, and then she takes the other one properly on her neck, like she's wrestling Mayu in Korakuen Hall. I thought this was great. I thought that Io, from me watching this match, and again, me being there live for both nights 1 and night 2, I thought Io was the performer of WrestleMania. I thought this match was probably the second best worked match, from start to finish. I thought from WrestleMania, I thought Sami and Gunther was number 1. Obviously, Rob, this WrestleMania, when we go back and talk about a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, is going to be remembered for all the crazy run-ins and Cody finally finishing the story and giving us a happy ending for WrestleMania Night 2. But for my money, Io was the best performer on WrestleMania. And this is my second favorite, and I've seen every WrestleMania match ever. This, in my opinion, is the second best women's match in the history of WrestleMania, just behind Charlotte and Rhea Ripley from WrestleMania last year. I totally agree with the 4.5 stars. And my man, I don't know if you got a chance to watch this yet, but if you do have time, not only watch Risa Sera versus Mike and Himeka from the 5-star Grand Prix 2 years ago, but do watch Io versus Bayley from this WrestleMania, because it was outstanding.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because based off what you said last week about wanting to do it, I also rewatched it on the WWE Network. And honestly, it's one of the very, very, very few matches that I enjoyed more on a rewatch than I did live. I knew I'd watched something good live, but because of where we were, and I think that was the match where that light was in our faces the entire match. There was just something about it. However, watching it back, I realized just how good the action is. I think, if Bayley was injured, then Io does a tremendous job of carrying her through the remainder of that match. If it's a selling thing that Bayley's doing, then what a sell job. Because genuinely, throughout the match when we saw it live, I was turning to you going, I think she's actually injured. I think she's really injured. But the story they told was great. I think Io's run with the title is going to be sort of forgotten about very, very quickly, unfortunately. But this match showcased just how good she is at the very top of the WWE Women's Pyramid. A very, 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 very good match that if you were there live, I'd actively encourage you to go and watch it again, because you do get more of a sense of the intricacies that these two women are producing. And it's Bayley's best match in God knows how long, probably since the Sasha Banks match at NXT.
I agree. I literally have a note here: Bayley's best match ever, other than the Sasha match, and Io. And Io's had some really good matches, especially in NXT. But I think this is Io's best match since leaving Stardom, and probably Io's best singles match since that Momo Watanabe white belt change. But no, I agree with you. I think this is Bayley's best match since that Sasha match. Probably the second best in her career, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't think of a better Io match. Definitely not in WWE anyway. Right, so now we've moved on from that, let's preview the big show. And I'm not talking Paul White.
Damn it. You squashed it. I was getting ready to come in for the cutoff before I could even get in the ring. You drop kicked me through the ropes.
There you go, mate. I'm full May Sarah. Yeah, so we've obviously got the full card for the Yokohama Buntai. Still quite a lot of tickets on sale for the Yokohama Buntai. So now that we've got a full card to actually go from, it'll be interesting to see how quickly those tickets do sell. As we record, it's the 24th of April. We are 3 days away. This will be from the Yokohama Buntai on the 27th, Saturday morning. It will be a pay-per-view, obviously. But the full card, before we go back through the predictions and sort of go through each match, the card is now complete, and I'll just go through that card for you now. Momokogo versus Rana Yagami. Tag team match, Yuna Mizumori and Aya Sakura versus Lady C and Rian. The 6-woman tag match that sees the return full-time of Konami to God's Eye. We've got Syuri, Konami, and Amisori versus the EXV team of Xena, Wakatsukiyama, and Hanako. Future of Stardom belt on the line. Rina the champion versus Sayaka Kurora. High-speed championship 4-way. Saki Kashima versus Sayaka Kamatani versus Saya Iida versus Fukigen Death. Mina Shirakawa versus Natsuko Tora. We've then got the Goddess of Stardom Championship 4-way. Crazy Star versus FWC versus O2 Line versus Young Oedatai. Special tag match, Meltier versus Aja Kong and Kiyoru Ito. IWGP Women's Championship Dream Match, Mayu Iwatani, the champion, whose reign has recently eclipsed a full calendar year, versus the challenger Sari. Wonder of Stardom Championship, Saori Anou, only her second title defense in 117 days, by the way, versus the Cinderella Tournament winner Hanan. And then in your World of Stardom Championship, 2 out of 3 falls match, Maika the champion, defending for the 4th time, versus Momo Watanabe. The 3 falls will be a singles match, a hardcore match, and then you will end with a last woman standing match. Something that was announced, that each of these falls have a 30-minute time limit. So presumably, or at least the way that I've read it, is that the 30-minute time limit will reset at the end of each fall. So it would not surprise me if we see a time limit draw in one of these. But we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through. Before we go into each match then, Matt, what do you think about this as a card? And go on, compare it to last year.
Yeah, I have a lot of people sending me messages over the last handful of days that some people are disappointed with the card, and I understand that. But you're comparing it to last year, which is, I think when we interviewed Scotty Wrestling, he said this was a cheat code. It's one of the best wrestling shows ever. Not just Stardom, not just in Japan. It's one of the best wrestling shows ever. And timing-wise, a lot of things happened to just line up with like Mercedes coming in, getting that dream match with Mayu, the fact that Himika was retiring. Who do we put on a retirement match? We give it to Micah. There's a lot of things that happen to line up. And not only that, but I think as wrestling fans, we've been spoiled. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to get to the positives in a minute. I'm just saying from what other people are telling me that they're kind of a little disappointed with the card. I kind of understand that, but I 100% disagree. Again, going off last year's card, from top to bottom, from that high-speed tag team match all the way up into the main event with Tam and Julia, we were really, really spoiled with how great of a card that is. And again, I think we've been spoiled in wrestling the last few months as well, between two really good WrestleMania nights. We just had the AEW Dynasty show, which I know it's not an AEW podcast, but partner, real quick, did you get a chance to watch that pay-per-view or that one match I was telling you about?
I didn't. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. No problem. But I mean, we're coming off a phenomenal AEW pay-per-view. I think this is going to be just as good as that AEW pay-per-view. I really, really do. From top to bottom, is it as stacked as last year's show? No. But at the same time, look at the three main singles title matches we have. The way they've been, obviously, Sari and Mayu, it's only just been billed as a dream match. But the way that Hanan and Soriano has been built, the way that Micah and Momo has been built, we have Meltier versus the former Zap and Aja Kong. This isn't going to be Aphrodite versus Oedo Tai. This is not going to be any stretch of the imagination. Thunder Rock versus Kairi Mako Satomura. This is an attraction match, and I think it's going to be loads of fun. I really do. But again, with those three big championship matches, I would not be shocked if we have those three matches that are 4.5 to 5 stars to end the show. And I'm really excited for the tag match. I really am. As much as I'm a traditionalist and kind of like the 1-on-1 or 2-on-2s, I made mention on this show so many times the last few months, nobody does multi-person matches better than Stardom. And the fact that you're getting Crazy Star, tag team champions, one of the best tag teams in all of wrestling, FWC, when they're put together, they are fantastic. You have O2 Line, Azumi, who's phenomenal, Miyu Hamasaki, who's really coming into her own, especially when she teams with Azumi, and then Starlight Kid, who's fantastic, and Ruaka. And Ruaka is one of those ones that are kind of on the lower mid-card, but at the same time, whenever she gets the opportunity to shine, she always hits it out of the park. If you remember when they had the BMI 2000 versus Nanai versus 7-Up tag match, that was the main event of a Cork and Hollow show, Ruaka was like the MVP of the match, and Ruaka was a low-key MVP in a heel way of this past year's Cinderella tournament. And then you look at all the talent that's on those 8 wrestlers that are in that match. You have so many great high-speed style wrestlers, to the Hazukis, to the Kagamas, to the Starlight Kids, to the May Saras. And then you're throwing in the violence you're going to see with Hazuki and Suzu Suzuki. Again, at first glance, you're kind of like, and that's what we just do. We compare it to what we saw last year, or we compare it to a wrestling card we just saw, like with AEW Dynasty or WrestleMania, and you're kind of like, oh, really? This is what we're getting? Take a step back. Part of my language. Get your head out of your ass and appreciate for what this is going to be, because I am really, really excited for this card.
Yeah, me too. I think, last year's card was an absolute supernova in terms of actual card strength. You look at it, it was show of the year by an absolute country mile. Yes, there might not be the depth here, but you've also got a legitimate match of the year contender in Mayu versus Sari. You've also got the anticipation of the Soriano and Hanan match. You've got what will be absolute carnage in that Goddess of Stardom match. You've got the special attraction of seeing Aja Kong in a Stardom ring for the first time. And of course, Micah and Momo Watanabe, who, let's be honest, Momo Watanabe was on the pre-show of last year's All-Star Grand Queendom and is now in the main event. What a rise in a year for Momo Watanabe, but I fully anticipate them knocking it out of the park. It's brave to go 2 out of 3 falls, but I think if there's 2 women that are going to do this really well, it's Micah and Momo. They've proved the violence that they can muster against each other. I think a hardcore fall in the middle is perfect, because that's really where the match can get really, really dirty. And I'm excited for that. Rena, of course, and it is worth noting that Rena is currently, as we record, 348 days into her future of Stardom Championship reign. She is closing in on that longest reign, which is held by Utami Hayashishita at 409 days. Do not be surprised if Rina eclipses that reign. But this will be her 8th successful title defense, which puts her just one behind the most successful title defenses with the Future of Stardom Championship. Matt, who holds that?
Are you ready? Yeah, would be one Hanan, correct?
It would indeed. That is going to make for some interesting lunchtime conversation in the Hina Rina Hanan household. Anyway, let's get into our predictions for this card. So, Matt, we'll talk a little bit about these matches, these undercard matches. Momo Koga versus Rana Yagami. I feel like, unfortunately, despite Rana Yagami being an absolutely kick-ass drummer, and a kick-ass striker, I don't see her getting a singles victory against Momo Kogo here.
No, neither do I. And I'm really excited for this match. Again, nowhere near as excited as I am for the top of the card. I made mention that how great Momo Kogo has looked in the ring these past 2 weeks. And then Rana Yagami is somebody that is my style of wrestler. The kicks, the striking, the submissions, knowing where to put them. This will probably go, 7-8 minutes. I don't think it's going to warrant on its welcome. I don't think it's going to, blow the roofs off any door, but it'd be a good way to start this show and a really good way for Momo Kogo to start getting some wins here. So I think this will be a really good, solid opener. But no, I'm in agreement with you with Momo Kogo getting the win here. However, if they do want to start pushing one of the other rookies, since super rookie Hazuki is out off to Rossy Vice Wrestling, this would be a good way to kind of jumpstart Rana Yagami, not jumpstart, but really get Rana Yagami going in a proper way, getting a win over Momo Kogo on the biggest show of the year. So I wouldn't be shocked if it's Rana Yagami, but I'm going to put my chips on one Momo Kogo.
I'm also going to do the same, and it would not surprise me. To be honest, I think as we read this card, that the first 2 matches will probably be pre-show matches that will air on YouTube. Simply because at the moment we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 matches announced. So I imagine that Momo Kogo and Rana Yagami and the coming tag match will be pre-show matches. I imagine Momo Kogo defeats Rana Yagami here. I am wondering if Momo Kogo then sort of cashes in that victory and challenges the winner of the high-speed match.
Ooh, I'm for that.
I know she's challenged for the high-speed belt before. However, she's improved massively. We know that Momo Kogo is a really useful commodity to have, especially with any sort of US expansion or you sort of looking at running US shows or whatever. So I'm wondering if they'll start putting her into more high-stakes matches. Obviously, I know you've got to be careful with Momo Kogo because of what she struggles with and things, but I'd like to see her in that picture.
Plus, she's in the movie. Plus, she's in Mayu's movie, so she's going to be seen on a wider audience. Yeah.
And of course, this entire show is sponsored by Runaway Wrestler, which I can't believe.
Our podcast? Wow, way to go, buddy. You've done a great job. Chuck Norris and Runaway Wrestler. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Goodwin.
Yuna Mizumori and Ai Sakura versus Lady C and Rian. Unfortunately, Rian is with Lady C. Rian will be eating the pinfall. Therefore, I spy a victory for Cosmic Angels, Matt.
Yeah, I think Yuna Mizumori. Again, Yuna Mizumori is somebody that I made mention that she's, in my opinion, the most improved wrestler in all of wrestling in 2023. She's another one, if giving the tap, if she's in this year's 5-star Grand Prix, could have another breakout performance. I know it's the pre-show. Again, it's going to be front of, and I do want to get into what your predicted number is at the end of this episode, but it's going to be in front of probably a couple thousand people with a lot of people watching on pay-per-view and Stardom World. I think nice to see Yuna Mizumori for how hard she's worked over this past year and a half, get a win here. So I agree that the Cosmic Angels team is going to get the win, and I'm hoping it's Yuna that picks up the pinfall.
Yeah, I wouldn't be disappointed with that. I like the idea that Aya Sakura would pick up the victory, just to be the first out of her and Sayaka Kurora to get a definitive pinfall victory, sort of to carry on that friendly rivalry. In terms of rookies and Cosmic Angels. However, I do see it being Yuna Mizumori picking up the victory. Of course, we are overlooking that Lady C could quite easily pin Aya Sakura, but with Rian being the newer rookie, I imagine that a rite of passage will be her getting pinned. We move on to what I assume is going to be the start of the main card, and that starts with the return of Konami, Syuri Konami and Amisori versus Zena, Waka Tsukiyama and Hanako. This is a tough one because obviously you're still highlighting EXV as the big new shiny faction in Stardom, but also the return of Konami as, you know, from the limited dates she's done after the 2021 Dream Queendom card. I can see this going either way, but
Rob Goodwin.
I'm gonna go Konami. Konami to submit Waka Tsukiyama.
Rob, I'm going to you got to the end right, but I'm gonna make this very simple for you. Sherry, bruiser, killer, right?
I know where this is going.
You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Amisori, killer, bruiser, right? Konami, killer, bruiser, right?
Mm-hmm.
Poor equals what? Poor Waka. I'm sure Waka will get her shine in. She'll get her fire in. Xena, hard hitter. Hanako, every match she's just getting better. You know, we mentioned how great she looked in that match with Starlight Kid in Taiwan. But ultimately, I think it's going to come down to the Triangle Answer submitting poor Waka. And what is going to be a really, really fun match?
Yeah, I imagine so. And as we know, the Triangle Lancer is 100% successful. Yeah, you mentioned Xena's hard hitting. She's got such hard hands. Her and Amisori chopping off is going to be a very, 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 very exciting little exchange. We've then got Rina, as I mentioned, defending her Future of Stardom championship for the 8th time against Sayaka Kurora, who, again, has improved massively. And I'm really excited for her to get this. I don't anticipate it going above 10 minutes, but getting this chance in a prominent spot in a title match. I don't think she wins, but again, as we say on this podcast again and again and again, it's not who wins, it's how you lose. And I think Sayaka Kurora could do a lot of good in having a good match with Rina here, and I think she's more than capable of that. And let's be honest, we're all looking forward to seeing Kurora's spear of Rina.
Yeah, again, this is going to be another really good match. Rina, another one that's really improving at such a young age. I think this one might be one of the most predictable ones, the more predictable ones on this show. But regardless, I still think Sayaka Kurora is going to put on a heck of a match. And again, what a spot she's in. She's in a championship match on a big show, probably the biggest drawing show Stardom's going to have all year, you know, for someone that's only been wrestling a handful of months. So good on her. And again, this is going to be, you know, Rina's going to be the one that's going to be carrying the boatload of this match. So this is going to be, you know, something of a coming out party as well for Rina. So, but no, I expect Rina to get the match probably about the 7 or 8 minute mark, and what'll probably a really, really solid performance from both these young and fantastic professional wrestlers, Mr. Goodwin.
We move on then to the High Speed Championship 4-Way, which is one of the more difficult ones to predict. The champion Saki Kashima, Saya Kamatani, Saya Iida, and Fukigen Death. As I mentioned in the rundown of the card, you can never bet against Fukigen Death in a fatal 4-Way. Saki Kashima is as slippery as they come. And then, of course, you've got Saya Kamatani, who's fantastic, and Saya Iida, who is main event Saya Iida. And that is why... Well, I do have my reasons. I think Saki Kashima might actually be injured. There was a match, and I don't know what card it was on, but there's a match where she's visibly limping on that right foot.
Last one. She didn't do anything. Yeah, it was the last one. I was going to make mention of that. I think that's why, buddy. That might be one of the reasons why they made this a 4-way.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Kind of just work around it, yeah.
So I think she might be dropping the belt here for that reason. I don't think it was planned, but I think if she is injured... you can't have the high speed belt. Of all the belts, you can't have the high speed belt on someone that can't run. And I know there's the gimmick of the low speed champion, but you know, if you're struggling to move, it's not fair on her. I think Saya Iida takes this. And
Rob, oh god, I'm sorry, buddy.
No, go on.
No, finish your point, because you tugged at my heartstrings with Saya Iida winning a championship. So no, finish your thought, good sir.
Who needs it the most out of all 4 of these women? Saki's already the champion. We think she's probably dropping it because we think she's probably injured. Kaori Oniyama, or Death Yama-san, or Fukigen Death, or whatever you want to call her, has already held the belt 3 times. she doesn't gain anything from winning this, and the belt certainly doesn't gain anything from winning this. Now, I outlined why Saya Kamatani would be good for the belt, but would the belt be good for Saya Kamatani? That's a different point entirely. Saya Iida, however, hasn't won a singles championship since the Future of Stardom championship, which she had to vacate due to injury, let's not forget. She never technically lost that belt. She's been on an absolute tear. She offers something completely different to other high-speed wrestlers and can actually be an incredible base for the quicker wrestlers. Imagine a Saya Iida and Natsupoi match. It would be so good, the disparity between the hard-hitting, strong style of Saya Iida and the more high-speed stylings of Natsupoi. I think it would be perfect. Do I realistically think it's going to happen? Probably not. Do I desperately want it to happen? Yes. So I'm going Saya Iida to win the high-speed title.
Mr. Goodwin, you are phenomenal at your notes and Stardom history. Little history lesson, because I just reviewed this show with the birthday boy, Andy Hedder.
Mm-hmm.
With Saya Iida, you made mention that won the Future of Stardom championship. Do you know who she pinned for that belt?
I do indeed.
Who was that? It's a good
Saya Kamatani.
Yes, and who else was in that match?
Micah, I believe.
Oh, and Micah is the current World of Stardom championship. Folks, main event, Saya Iida, I give you. This one is the hardest one for me to predict.
Yeah.
You know, you just made mention how we think that Saki Kashima is injured. What if she's not injured? She's just hurt, and then she works all these matches with like a limp. You know what I mean? That would kind of go into her gimmick. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do that because not only would it make the matches not good at all, but you're going to obviously put more pressure on Saki Kashima, whether it's her knee or her leg or whatever. So I think that maybe the idea was to go with a singles match with Saya Kamatani versus Saki Kashima, but then they're just like, well, we don't know what we're doing with Saya Iida, and then we can always just plug Fuki and Death, in here to make this a four-way, which will be really entertaining. The way that you could look at this is Saki Kashima is very, everybody can do the work and she comes in and gets the pinfall. That's one way you can go about it. Obviously, you've been saying it for years on this podcast, at a multi-person match, you don't bet against the clown. That's another way to go about it. I made mention about an hour earlier, if Saya Kamatani was to win the high-speed championship, what that would do for the belt, having a main eventer like Saya Kamatani with the high-speed championship, and it gives her something interesting and different to do until the 5-star Grand Prix. And then, you just mentioned it, who needs this win the most? Main event, Saya Iida. The idol killer, one Saya Iida. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat watching this match because you don't know if Fuki and Death's going to get the roll up. You don't know when Saki Kashima is going to come in and steal a pinfall. Saya Kamatani, one of the best wrestlers in the world. You don't know what she's going to do to try to win this match. But the fact that I'm going to literally buy on every pinfall that Saya Iida has, because yes, she does need this the most. And she's deserved, I don't like that word deserve. She's earned this the most, where she can have a really good run with this high-speed championship, because it'd be something different than the Natsupoi, the Meseras, even the Saki Kashima doing the comedy thing, because it would be like high-speed violence. You know what I mean? Because she runs really fast. She's a very explosive wrestler. Well, like Natsupoi, Starlight Kid, Izumi, they're explosive for the pins and certain submissions and whatnot, where you just see more explosive clotheslines and shoulder tackles. So you get something different, but something the same and something that really fits well with Saya Iida as the high-speed championship. With that being said, I think it's going to be Saya Kamatani because I think they're going to build the high-speed championship up. I think it's because I think it's going to give Saya Kamatani something to do between now and the 5-star Grand Prix that I mentioned earlier, and it's going to build the belt back up. You're literally going to have the third biggest singles championship match, or your third biggest singles title, in Stardom on a main eventer like Saya Kamatani. So you're going to make the belt even more important than Natsupoi already did, and Starlight Kid then already did, and that Zumi and Meisera already did. So I think it's going to be Saya Kamatani that wins, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's Saya Iida. I wouldn't be shocked if it's Fukin Death. I would not be shocked if it's Saki Kashima stealing a victory here. But Saya Iida has definitely earned and deserved the right to be high-speed champion. And I think Saya Iida as high-speed champion would be something that'd be very, very fun and something very, very violent.
I think I was leaning towards Saki Kashima retaining, but with that injury that I think she's got, I think she drops it. Was she not injured, I think Saki Kashima retains. She'd do some sort of shenanigans like we saw by stealing the pinfall off Miyu Amasaki. But if she's injured, I think you need to take the belt off her. Mina Shirakawa versus Natsuko Tora, the match with probably the least build on this entire card, aside from the four-ways. Even though Tora is incredibly violent and is incredibly good, I think Mina Shirakawa is the golden goose, so to speak. You know, she's wrestling on Dynamite tonight against Anna Jay. She made a Ring of Honor debut. She was one of the ones selected to do all of the America stuff the last couple of weeks. I think Mina Shirakawa wins here.
Yeah, this will be a fun, hard-hitting match, and it's an easy story to tell. You have Mina Shirakawa. She's the most popular girl in school that everybody likes, and she likes everybody. You know, she likes, not only the people she hangs out with, she likes the jocks, she likes the nerds, she likes the geeks. She gets along with everybody, and everybody gets along with her, and Tora is just the bully for being bully's sake. You saw what she did at night one of the Cinderella tournament to the poor rookie that is Sayaka Kurora. It's going to be very, very violent between these two. You're going to see a lot of hard-hitting strikes. It's going to be a fun match. I don't expect it to go too long. It's going to be almost like a heavyweight fight with these two just throwing down. But, yeah, this is another easy one to predict because Mina Shirakawa, yeah, she's the golden goose. You don't put her on AEW TV tonight only to have her lose against Natsuko Tora. And I hope that when we do, again, as we're recording this, it is Wednesday. I hope they do make mention that Stardom does have a pay-per-view, a big pay-per-view, this weekend, and they, maybe give you some give a few plugs to Stardom. I think that would be really nice. But yeah, I think Mina Shirakawa gets the win here. And a match, again, that we kind of forgot that is on the card, but I think that it is going to be one that's going to absolutely deliver because these two are fantastic.
The Goddesses of Stardom title four-way, Crazy Star, FWC, O2 Line, and Oedetai. Young Oedetai. I've got a theory here. I am going to go with Crazy Star to retain. I think Crazy Star either pin Ruaka or Miyu Amasaki. We've got a show coming up in Fukuoka. We know we like to highlight the wrestlers from that region. Obviously, Fukuoka Double Crazy are the team from that area. It wouldn't surprise me if they retain and then Hazuki and Koguma challenge them 1 or 2-on-2, should I say, in the Fukuoka pay-per-view on the 5th of May. What do you think?
I totally agree. I think not only is that going to happen, I agree Crazy Star retains. I totally agree. The Ruaka or Miyu Amasaki takes the pinfall. But also what you can do here, and this is going to be nuts. This is going to be crazy. Nobody does multi-person matches like Stardom. If everything hits like I know it's going to hit, this is going to be a sleeper match of the card. I really think this is going to be something that we're going to be like, wow, this absolutely blew my mind. How just intense it was, how paced it was, how everything fit really well. All the tag teams look good. But what you can do off this, Rob, again, I totally agree. I think at the May pay-per-view, we're going to get a proper 2-on-2 match, straight up FWC versus Crazy Star. But then you can get a proper O2 Line versus Crazy Star. And then you can get a proper Young Oedetai versus Crazy Star match. And then you just keep building Crazy Star. And then maybe sometime towards the fall, you have that big match that we're really kind of maybe might be the biggest tag match Stardom can make coming in the next 6-7 months, where you have Wingori versus Crazy Star. But you got Crazy Star off to a great start with these tag belts. Phenomenal must-see match with Aphrodite. We mentioned the match with Prominence they had last week. This match is going to be great, and then you can have 3 properly 2-on-2 matches. But I think this is going to be terrific. I think this is going to be the sleeper match of this card, but I agree. I think Crazy Star retains, and I think they need to retain.
Agreed. We move on then to the special tag, Aja Kong, Kaori Ito versus Tam Nakano and Natsupoi. I'm glad they're in there with Tam and Natsupoi because they can do the bulk of the work. Obviously, Aja Kong, Joshi legend, but is getting on in years. Kaori Ito, I'm less excited to see, partly because of what we saw with Dun Matsumoto and Zap in that godforsaken zombie match. But the excitement for seeing Aja Kong light up either Natsupoi or Tam Nakano with a spinning back fist overrules all my other reservations. I would like to see Meltier win as the actual established Stardom wrestlers. However, I do see Aja Kong pinning Poi.
No, I was thinking about this, Rob, when I was at the gym this morning because I knew we were going to do our predictions. This is a tough one to predict. You would kind of figure, why not give Meltier the win here? Tam and Natsupoi are both still in their prime. I don't think Natsupoi's at her prime yet. I think she's going as great as she is. I think she's got better matches, ahead of her. Obviously, Aja Kong and I'm just going to call her Zap. Zap, they're well behind what their prime is. It doesn't make any sense to put the Joshi legends over. However, we don't see Aja Kong take many falls in any of these independent matches she does. Maybe it builds to a match with her and Tam, a singles match, where Tam gets the win there. I don't know. I don't know, what the demand for Aja Kong back in Stardom is going to be, if it's going to move tickets, if it's going to move pay-per-views. If this was just a match that was just announced, I'd be like, oh, this will be fun, because obviously it's Meltier. They can work with anybody. They're fantastic, and Aja Kong's a legend. But I'm a little bit more excited because we were there at the Monster Factory. We may mention this a couple times. We were there in the Monster Factory when Tam and Aja Kong were on the same team, and they had really great chemistry as partners. And the fact that Aja Kong could still go, not go as well as she did in the 90s and 2000s, but she can still go. And the fact that we know she throws that spinning back fist with so much violence. Not only do I think Natsupoi is going to eat the spinning back fist, I think Tam as well. The limited offense that the Joshi legends can do is going to be very limited. So if you can get 2 of those spinning back fists in that match, I think the more the merrier. I would not be shocked if your prediction is right with Natsupoi eating the pinfall from Aja Kong, but I'm going to pick Meltier to get the win here.
Let's move on then. 3 title matches, and we start with, of course, Mayu Iwatani versus Sari for the IWGP Women's Championship. Mayu has held this belt for 367 days. It will be 370 days by the time the pay-per-view comes around. It's an incredible reign. Obviously, we want the belt on the biggest names. Mayu certainly is that. However, and it's a big however, obviously, Mayu Iwatani is advertising her movie, which is out in late May. The entire pay-per-view is sponsored by her film. And this one was quite difficult for me because I was thinking, well, Mayu needs to do all the advertising for a film. She could do that with the belt. However, and again, this is my big caveat. If Mayu is going to leave for Marigold, and it's a big if. I know she's done the interview with Tokyo Sports, but I've already outlined my reasons for thinking that might just be a little bit of PR. You need to put that belt on someone with a big name. Sari is a huge name in Joshi. Could she fill Mayu's boots as the 4th champion? I think so. Who else is there that you would entrust that to? You look at the very short lineage of this belt. Kairi Sane, Mercedes Moné, Mayu Iwatani. I think Sari fits that lineage quite well. Now, if I'm completely wrong and Mayu is staying with Stardom, don't take the belt off her, obviously, because there's no one else better. However, if Mayu is leaving for Marigold once all her contractual obligations surrounding the Runaway Wrestler film are completed, and again, I don't know anything, so please take this with a grain of salt, then I think Sari is the perfect person to drop the belt to. So I'm actually, left field pick, I'm actually going to go with Sari for the victory here.
Well, I don't disagree with you big time when you just said you don't know anything, because that is complete BS. You would have not written 2 books if you have not written anything. And you might be new to this podcast, might be saying, Matt, what 2 books are you talking about? Well, head over to Amazon.com, just type in Rob Goodwin, and you can purchase Chasing the Dream and Living the Dream by my good friend Rob Goodwin. I'll be honest, I don't know. We can do a whole podcast on where we think Mayu's going and what's beneficial towards her. I don't think Mayu knows at this time really 100% where she's going. I think she's just focusing on this match, her career, and promoting the movie, and worry about, whenever her contract's up, getting to that. But they get another story for another day. I'm going to say Mayu wins for a couple reasons. One is she's promoting the movie. The belt is a good prop to promote the movie, and she's done a phenomenal job with that belt. And we've talked about this on the podcast the last few months, is almost cursed as that belt was. Anytime that Mayu had to do anything to do with it, whether it was the tournament matches that led to the final with Kairi that she ultimately lost, all the matches were great. Her match with Mercedes, that she won the belt, that was fantastic. The Steph Walker matches, the Mina match. She's had really the Utami match, obviously the Syuri match. She's had phenomenal matches, raising the prestige of the belt that really New Japan really didn't want to do anything to promote. And that just goes to show you what the great performer that Mayu is. Another reason why I think Mayu is going to win is, Rob, who's in the main event of that first Marigold show in Cork and Hall?
That would be Syuri and Julia, my friend.
Yeah, so I don't think that Stardom is going to put the belt on somebody that's going to be their quote-unquote rival promotion on the first show. So I think it's another reason why Mayu retains. Regardless, this match is going to be terrific. Really looking forward to it. This one might replace Syuri versus Mayu as my Stardom match of the year. This is going to be great. And again, kind of to go back on what you said is, if Mayu is to drop this belt, who then a bigger star than Syuri to drop it to? Yeah, that's a point, but you do have a lot of wrestling fans that don't watch much Joshi outside of Stardom, so they may not know who Syuri is. So, and again, considering the fact that we're seeing much more Stardom talent on AWTV, maybe they go back to a Mina, or, Mina gets another chance, maybe a Mina, maybe a Azumi, maybe a Syuri. I don't know. That's another question for another day. You do make good points on why you think Syuri is going to win, but I think Mayu is going to retain in this one.
Semi-main, Syuri versus Hanan for the white belts. As amazing as this match is going to be, as a sort of breakout moment on the main event scene as I think it's going to be for Hanan, I think she loses. I am thoroughly of the belief now that Syuri will drop this belt to Natsupoi. They sort of built a little bit towards that in the preview tag when Natsupoi was involved, which, if that's the sort of seeds that they're sowing ahead of that, that's great thinking, forward thinking. But yeah, I think Hanan will do fantastic in this match. I think Syuri will have just a little bit too much for her. And I think eventually she will drop it to Natsupoi. What about you, Matt?
I agree. I'm not sure on the Natsupoi. The Natsupoi thing does make sense. I think I'm still on board for that big Mina or Hazuki run with that white belt. Maybe I'm still hanging on to that train, but the Natsupoi thing does make sense. As great as Hanan is, and as great as a Hanan Wonder of Stardom Championship run would be, I think there's more upside to Syuri keeping the belt, at least for now, than Hanan. Hanan's going to win this belt eventually. She's going to do anything she wants to do in pro wrestling because she's that talented. But I think Syuri right now is a little bit more of a hotter hand. I think she'll draw more money as the Wonder of Stardom champion than Hanan, at least right now, at this part in Hanan's career. I wouldn't be shocked if Hanan wins, but I'm going to put a few chips, bets, not live bets, but I'm going to put my money on Syuri to retain. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if for all the Hanan fans out there, don't throw things at me. I wouldn't be shocked if she gets the win, but I'm going to put my money on Syuri to retain. And
finally, Maika versus Momo Watanabe. That 3 stages of hell match, if you will. Great match, I'm sure it's going to be. It's going to be Momo Watanabe's wheelhouse and the fact that she can use weapons and all sorts in those final 2 falls. However, I think Maika wins. I think Maika wins the singles match. I think Momo wins the hardcore match. And then I think Maika comes out on top in the last woman standing match. What about you, Matt?
Rob, I agree. However, I think that Stardom is going to flip-flop. I think that Momo is going to win the first fall in the singles match. This way, it's going to get more sympathetic babyface, or make Maika more of a sympathetic babyface, because now she absolutely has to win the hardcore match, which is Momo's wheelhouse, especially the fact that all these big wins Momo's gotten over the last 2 months, the Sayas, the Syuris, the Utamis, it's all been by cheating, and now she can cheat legally, which I guess isn't cheating, but you know what I mean. So now that Maika's going to have to win fall number 2 under Momo's rules, I think that's what's going to happen. I think Momo wins fall 1, which then again, for the diehard Momo fans, we can always go and be like, well, if it was a straight up singles match, Momo would be champion. So we can hang our hat on that one. I think Maika wins fall number 2 in the hardcore match, and then Micah wins fall number 3. Considering the fact that this match has 30 minutes each fall, and I know it's different than Syuri versus Utami that went 43 minutes because of, it's 3 falls. This probably is going to be the longest, one-on-ones. And I know it's 2 out of 3 falls, but the longest singles match in Stardom's history. Correct me if I'm wrong, partner. If anybody knows, it's going to be you. The longest match in Stardom's history was that the Syuri versus Utami 5.5-star match, correct?
Yes, correct.
I think this one's could probably go a little bit past. I bet you this one's going to go somewhere in the 15-minute mark. So, yeah, I agree with you. I know a lot of people are in agreement with us that Micah retains because I think that Micah's on a completely different level. I think they're doing a great job as far as booking Micah, and whenever Micah's asked to do, she hits an absolute home run. But I do want to make mention that a super fan of the show, one Ethan Black, who I crown him as the king of good news because whenever he messages me on Twitter, he only gives me good news. And I told him, you are not allowed to give me bad news. I will somehow ban you from the podcast. He is the only person. I'm only joking, Rob, relax. He's the only person that thinks that Momo Watanabe is going to win. And he gave me some pretty good reasons why. So that's going to be very, very interesting. But no, I think that Micah is going to retain and then just keep building up her run as the World of Stardom Championship. But again, Momo Watanabe is one of my favorite wrestlers ever in Stardom. The fact that she's getting this big main event shot is really, really interesting to me. And it's kind of going to segue into my next question for you, my friend, is because I'm curious on how many tickets you think this is going to sell, because we did see Momo Watanabe. Momo Watanabe does have the highest attendance number in the history of Cork and Hall for Stardom with her 9th anniversary red belt match with Mayu Iwatani. So you're kind of wondering, is Momo going to be able to pull some tickets in under this new heel persona? It is the old saying that baby faces sell t-shirts and heels sell tickets. So under over 3,000 tickets, what do you think this does?
I don't think they're going to do as much as last year. I'd be amazed if they. I'd be amazed if they get 5,000. I really wouldn't. That's not me being negative. That's sort of realistic. I think having Mercedes Moné on that card and the way that card fell together was perfect. And it sort of created the perfect storm, which resulted in a fantastic attendance. I would be looking. I think Stardom will be very disappointed if they got less than 3,000 people inside Yokohama Buntai. I think if you get 3,500, I think Stardom will be happy. Obviously, anything over 4,000, I think they'd be ecstatic. It's a good card. Whether Aja Kong is enough of a draw to get butts in seats, whether the slowness in ticket uptake is simply because there wasn't a full card. Obviously, you got the dream match in Mayu versus Sari. This is a good card. Again, there's no point comparing it to last year's because last year's was an all-timer. However, I think anything less than 3,000 and Stardom will consider this a disappointment. What about you?
I hope I'm wrong, buddy. I hope I'm wrong because I don't want to see anything but every wrestling company succeed, especially Stardom. But from what I understand, I think there's like 10 different ticket packages, and I saw that 5 of them are sold out. I'm going to say this does about 2,800. Again, if it's over 3,000, that's probably the number Stardom is looking for. Again, I'm wrong all the time. This is the time that I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I just think because the buzz was so high from last year's show that I think some people are like, I can kind of skip this one, which again, I think this is whether you're sitting front row or whether you're buying this on pay-per-view like me and you are going to partner. I think this is going to be well worth every penny that you put into this. But I'd look this at about 2,700, 2,800. Again, I'm hoping that they do well over 3,000.
And with that, the only thing that we've got left to say is that we will be live on YouTube at 8 p.m. British Standard Time, 3 p.m. in terms of Eastern Standard Time, Matt. 3 p.m. Please remember that, Matt. Live on YouTube, so come and join us for our live reactions to that show. There are 2 shows in terms of Monday and Tuesday next week, as well as the Golden Week Fight Tour starts. Both shows are not live on Stardom World. There'll be delivery at a later date. The 29th will be from Hiroshima Prefectural Industrial Rose Center. And the Tuesday show will be from Kochi, from the Kochi Cress? Let's go with Cress Gymnasium. Neither of them are live streaming, though. So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to an end of our show. We hope you enjoy All-Star Grand Queendom, and most importantly, we hope that you join us on YouTube live at 8 p.m. British Standard Time to talk all things about that show. We'll answer any of your questions live on the podcast. As well, it would be lovely to see as many of you as is humanly possible. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us. You can find us on social media, wherever you get your social media, at the Stardom Cast. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, please consider subscribing. We are literally everywhere, from Apple Podcasts to Spotify to Pocket Casts to iHeartRadio. We are literally everywhere. If you haven't left us a review, that'd be great if you could do that. It's a free way to support the podcast, and it really helps us be exposed to even more people. Thank you to all of our great patrons over at patreon.com/the Stardomcast, where you can support the podcast for as little as $1 a month, and you get all of these shows early and ad-free. You are all absolutely fantastic over on Patreon. Thank you to everyone, and thank you for your support. If you want to talk to me on Twitter, you can at RealRobGoodwin. Matt Turner, where can they find you, and sign us off?
Yes, questions, comments, anything you need from me, suggestions as well. Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and or the Twitter is the best way to get a hold of me, or you can shoot me an email. The email address to get a hold of me is the StardomCast22@gmail.com. Folks, we hope that you enjoyed this episode. We hope that you all join us for our live review of All-Star Grand Queendom. As Rob said, it'll be 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see as many of there as possible. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do it without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because we're all together and everybody's different. Everybody's special.